Chapter 363, True Young 5-Element Sword, Everyone is a Robber Cultivator. In the venue, countless pairs of eyes burned with desire as they gazed at the Foundation Establishment spirit object. Even the energy-refining cultivators who couldn't afford it were filled with longing as they looked at the object. After all, this was a spirit object related to Foundation Establishment. Foundation Establishment spirit objects, I wonder what price it will fetch, Lu Changxing mused calmly to himself. The market price for a Foundation Establishment spirit object was between 2,000 to 3,000 spirit stones. But the final transaction price typically exceeded this amount. After all, such objects were considered cure-alls and highly sought after. Whether one was an energy-refining cultivator or a Foundation Establishment cultivator, a loose cultivator or from a family power, there was demand. However, he wasn't interested. He still had 4 Foundation Establishment spirit objects on him after all. 2,000 spirit stones. Those who could afford to bid for this item were no fools. Knowing what it meant to raise the bid by just 100 or 200 spirit stones, they directly bid 2,000, which also demonstrated their resolve. 2,100. 2,500. 2,800. Before long, the Foundation Establishment spirit object sold for the high price of 3,900 spirit stones. Although the price was inflated, Foundation Establishment spirit objects were, after all, hard to come by. Especially for those who cultivated fire attribute techniques, spending more spirit stones didn't matter. Second-rank spirit pill, 3 Suns Elixir. This elixir medicine does not need much introduction from me. Named after the concept of 3 Yang heralding prosperity, consuming it ensures that all hidden illnesses and underlying issues vanish as if bathed in sunlight. It is therefore somewhat miraculous in assisting the progression from energy refining to Foundation Establishment. Yuningjuan lifted the red silk cloth and introduced the object, holding a glazed jade bottle. 3 Suns Elixir. Lu Changxing noticed his wife, Lu Miaoga, looking at him with eyes full of tenderness. He chuckled softly without saying a word. In the end, the 3 Suns Elixir was sold at the price of 3,800 spirit stones. The same price that Lu Changxing had paid when he purchased it at the Elixir Cauldron Pavilion. But this was to be expected. Buying elixir medicines from a place like the Elixir Cauldron Pavilion was intrinsically more expensive. And at an auction, unless faced with competition, the prices generally would not go much higher than the market value. One after another, the star auction items appeared. These items were mostly bid on by the powers of Foundation Establishment families or great Foundation Establishment cultivators. Ordinary energy refining loose cultivators simply didn't have the financial capacity to participate. Middle-grade spiritual artifact, True Young 5-Element Sword. This is a meticulous work by Master Oji, forged from True Young Phoenix Tree Wood and 5 elements primordial gold, with the aid of 3 Foundation Establishment great cultivators, taking 7 days and nights for refinement, harnessing the power of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, with a starting price of 3,000 spirit stones. At that moment, Yuningjuan unveiled the item by lifting the red silk cloth to reveal a cinnabar red sword with spiritual light flowing, and introduced it out loud. The True Young 5-Element Sword, combining the power of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth? Lu Changxing, who was appearing leisurely, narrowed his eyes slightly when he heard the description. Although he had cultivated the 7 Luminaries heart lamp as his life-bound spiritual artifact, he still lacked a suitable spirit sword. But fabricating a well-suited spirit sword incorporating all 5 elements and both yin and yang was no easy task. He would have to seek out a second-rank artifact refining master for that. Currently, he didn't know any masters of that caliber, so he had put the matter aside for the time being. Although this True Young 5-Element Sword doesn't incorporate both yin and yang, it's quite suitable for me, Lu Changxing thought to himself, preparing to acquire the sword. It was true that a middle-grade spiritual artifact was usually mastered by cultivators in the middle stage of Foundation Establishment. But with the profound origin bead at his side, he was by no means weaker than those in the middle stage of Foundation Establishment. In fact, his mana was even more profound than many of them. However, in such a setting, it was inconvenient for him to bid, so he could only trouble Xianxia. Given that his divine sense was a weak point and could be detected by others, Lu Changxing opted not to transmit to Xianxia via divine sense. Instead, he discreetly took out a transmission talisman belonging to Xianxia. Xianxia, who wasn't far away, looked perplexed upon receiving a message from Lu Changxing. But after seeing Lu Changxing's glance and looking toward the auction stage, she quickly grasped his intention. 5,000 spirit stones. Xianxia immediately called out her bid. If it were before, she would have worried about not having enough spirit stones. But with 22nd rank talismans from a previous auction, she had no concerns about having enough spirit stones. 5,500. 5,800. 6,000. 6,500. 7,000. When the bid reached 7,000, Xianxia glanced at Lu Changsheng. The price of a middle-grade spiritual artifact was typically around 5 to 6,000 spirit stones. Although the true Yang 5-element sword, being an exceptional piece, would be a good deal more expensive, 7,000 spirit stones seemed about right. Continue. Lu Changsheng gave a slight nod, signaling Xianxia to keep bidding. The sword was perfectly suitable for him, and he was not inclined to skimp on these spirit stones. There were a few Foundation establishment cultivators bidding, but after crossing 7,000 spirit stones, only an imposing middle-aged man remained in competition with Xianxia. However, when Xianxia made a bid of 7,900 spirit stones, the great Foundation establishment cultivator could only grimace and snort coldly as he gave up. When he snorted, he turned to look at Xianxia. It was as if he wanted to see who had dared not to give him face. Lu Changsheng watched this scene intently, making a note of what the Foundation establishment cultivator looked like. He wouldn't mind stepping out of the marketplace with Xianxia to resolve any grievances with the man. After the middle-grade spiritual sword, an item of spiritual armor and a rare spirit pill were auctioned, and the auction came to an end. However, after the auction, the patriarch of the Yu family and Lu Yuanzhong took to the stage to announce that the venue was available for free trading among attendees. They even offered to provide private boxes or secret chambers to facilitate transactions. Lu Changsheng had no interest in this, nor was it convenient for him to participate. Moreover, the auction had lasted almost a day, and his 4 wives seemed somewhat tired. Chapter 364. True Yang 5-element sword, everyone is a robber cultivator. _4. He said a few words to Lu Yuanding and then left with his 4 wives. Junior, you've worked hard for this auction. In a private room of the auction, Patriarch Yu Yuanshan of the Yu family looked at his grandson Yu Ningjuan with satisfaction. He was very pleased with his grandson's performance throughout the auction. Grandfather, this is my duty, Yu Ningjuan replied, looking at his ancestor with respect. Junior, I know you must be dissatisfied that the old patriarch gave the Foundation establishment elixir to Ninghu and auctioned off the earth-fire spiritual liquid that was originally for you, but rest assured, if you perform well in the marketplace for the next 10 years, I will surely fight for the next Foundation establishment elixir for you, and then, Grandfather will also seek out a suitable Foundation establishment spirit object for you, Patriarch Yu Yuanshan said solemnly to his grandson. How could I be dissatisfied when my elder brother successfully achieved Foundation establishment with the elixir? As for the earth-fire spiritual liquid, it never suited me. Even with it, my chances of establishment would be slim. It's better to auction it off and contribute to the family. This was also my voluntary idea, Yu Ningjuan said with a candid expression. The Yu family currently appeared to only have 2 Foundation establishment great cultivators. However, last year, Patriarch Yu Jianyang of the Yu family spent a great deal of money to acquire a Foundation establishment elixir at Jianghu Immortal City, and allowed his great-grandson Yu Ninghu to successfully achieve Foundation establishment in Jianghu Immortal City. This news was only known to the core members of the Yu family. Good, if you can think this way, Grandfather is also relieved. Now that we have the Red Leaf Valley market, as long as we can get this marketplace running and steadily developed, then take over the Jianghu and buy families, our Yu family might be able to take it a step further. Patriarch Yu Yuanshan looked at his sensible grandson and felt very comforted, his eyes filled with longing. Yu Ningjuan also showed a look of longing when he heard this. Meanwhile, dozens of miles away from the Red Leaf Valley market, 2 robber cultivators killed a pair of cultivators who had just left the Red Leaf Valley market. Their techniques were skilled and they acted decisively. After dealing with the bodies and the environment, they immediately activated a formation device to hide their figures and auras. Whenever they encountered any lone chi refinement loose cultivators, the 2 would strike with the force of thunder and continue this behavior. Isn't someone taking the opportunity to attempt Foundation establishment after the Red Leaf Valley market auction? At this moment, one of the 2, a burly man dressed in a gray vestment robe and wearing a bamboo hat, checked a transmission talisman. This Red Leaf Valley market only has a middle-grade spirit vein, and they dare to let someone attempt Foundation establishment here? Aren't they afraid it will affect the formation's operation? The other, a young robber cultivator also wearing a gray vestment robe and a bamboo hat, said upon hearing this. It must be that the red leaf market wants to curry favor and attract this person. And they want to use this opportunity to attract loose cultivators to come here for foundation establishment. After all, this marketplace doesn't have any major backing. It's just established by 4 foundation establishment families. The strongest among them, the Yu family with Patriarch Eugene Yang, is only at the middle stage of foundation establishment. And normally, there's only one cultivator at the initial stage of foundation establishment stationed in the market. The burly man spoke disdainfully. After speaking, he looked at the young robber cultivator and said, "Your mother sent a message to me. She probably also wants to stir up a big scheme. Now that we're wanted by the Heavenly Sword sect, why not take this opportunity of the Red Leaf Valley market auction to plunder, and then directly flee Jianghu country, head to Yu country? That way you'll have your foundation establishment resources as well," the burly man suggested. "Dad, isn't that too risky?" the young robber cultivator said with some concern after hearing this. "What's the risk in that? Your dad has come this far from a nobody loose cultivator. I've seen all kinds of storms. This Red Leaf Valley market doesn't have a big backing. During this auction, it's not just us who came to rob travelers. There are many others here to muddy the waters, hoping to pick up some advantages. Besides, as long as the market becomes chaotic at the time, everyone will be robber cultivators." The burly man spoke, clearly accustomed to such undertakings. Chapter 365. Marketplace Mayhem. 4 robber cultivators emerge. _1. As the auction concluded, the crowd in the marketplace quickly dwindled. After all, the surge in visitors was mostly due to the auction, or those looking to trade amidst the excitement. Only a small portion of the crowd would choose to settle in Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, and Chu Jinjin, along with Lu Yuanding and Lu Yuanzhong, returned to Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Changxing, however, did not go back with them. He planned to return after some time. He made his way to the small courtyard he rented with Xianxia. Changxing. Xianxia revealed a gentle expression on her usually cold face when she saw Lu Changxing. She handed over the spirit stones and the true Yang 5 elements sword that had been auctioned to Lu Changxing. "You've worked hard, Shiyu." Lu Changxing took the spirit stones and the spiritual sword from Xiaoxia's hands. He then examined the true Yang 5 element sword. The spiritual sword was 3 feet long and 1 inch wide, with both hilt and blade gleaming in red-gold color. The hilt bore a wooden pattern, while the blade was etched with a pattern of the 5 elements, enveloped by a faint golden halo. Merely looking at it brought forth an aura of sharpness. Even without having refined it yet, Lu Changxing felt the spiritual sword was impressive and very suitable for him. "Changxing, this true Yang 5 element sword comes with a special sacrificial refinement technique." Xiaoxia took out a jade slip and passed it to Lu Changxing. The biggest difference between spiritual artifacts and magic artifacts is that spiritual artifacts can be refined and acknowledged by their master, allowing seamless control and enhancing power during combat. Even if an enemy seizes them, it would be difficult to refine them quickly. Oh, there's even a matching sacrificial refinement technique. Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow as he received the jade slip. He had long heard that some excellent magic artifacts and spiritual artifacts come with their own control spells and sacrificial refinement techniques. He scanned the sacrificial refinement technique contained within the jade slip with his divine sense. Inside was a blood refinement method. By using blood to refine the spiritual artifact, its power could be maximized in the hands of the first master. Even if the spiritual sword was snatched away, without the corresponding sacrificial refinement technique, forcible refinement would greatly diminish its power. While there are benefits to having a spiritual artifact with a special refinement method, there are also downsides. The advantage is that its power is stronger than that of a regular spiritual artifact. The downside is that if resold, the devaluation and discount are quite severe. After a brief look, Lu Changxing put away the true Yang 5 element sword without starting the refinement process right away. After all, there were more pressing matters to attend to. A few days later, having dealt with urgent business, Lu Changxing began the refinement process of the true Yang 5 element sword. Refining a spiritual artifact is not difficult, especially when it has no owner. In just half a day, Lu Changxing had successfully refined the true Yang 5 element sword. Go! Stepping into the courtyard, Lu Changxing's mental spirit stirred slightly, and the true Yang 5 element sword flew out from his hand, The spiritual sword, like a graceful swan or a roaming dragon, gave a light hum, bursting with the sharp energy of gung metal, its sword chi crisscrossing the air. The next moment, the sword's sharp gung metal energy transformed into a shock wave as powerful as tumultuous waves, with continuous azure patterns shimmering across it. Then the sword changed again, its blade now suffused with a fiery red heat, roiling vigorously as if a fire dragon were roaring. Xianxia, in her moon-white dress, her holy and graceful figure standing there, watched the scene unfold with surprise and amazement in her eyes. Although Lu Changxing was merely toying with the true Yang five-element sword and had not displayed its full might, such a deft display led her to recognize that his sword technique was extraordinary. 7 Luminary Sword Scripture. Xianxia murmured to herself. Previously, Lu Changxing had told her that the cultivation technique he was studying was called the 7 Luminary Sword Scripture. But she had not witnessed Lu Changxing employing this technique. Now she had gained some insight. She somewhat understood the significance of the 7 luminaries. Not bad, indeed this feels more suitable than the previous 2 spiritual swords I've used, Lu Changxing said, looking pleased as he retracted the sword's glow. In such a small courtyard, despite not being able to unleash its potential and test its might, a simple experience was enough for him to roughly gauge the power of this spiritual sword. It felt even more fitting in his hands than the white flying sword of the man in red and Meng Yubai's golden flying sword. It allowed him to utilize his 7 luminary sword chi more effectively. As for the issues, this flying sword's primary power enhancement lay in the 5 elements. The genuine Yang Catalpa tree served merely as a guide, having no enhancing effect on the attributes of yin and yang. However, contentment is the key to happiness. To Lu Changxing this was already sufficient, and to spend 7,900 spirit stones was not a loss. It seems Lu Lang is quite satisfied with this spiritual sword. Should Lu Lang require it, once Shiyu accumulates enough contribution value within our sect, I could request an artifact refining master to incorporate yin and yang spiritual materials, reforging the sword to elevate it to a superior or even an extreme quality spiritual artifact. Then with both yin and yang and the 5 elements complete, I imagine it would suit Lu Lang even better, Xianxia said softly with a smile, observing the contentment on Lu Changxing's face. From Lu Changxing's demonstration, she understood the meaning of the 7 luminaries and also comprehended why Lu Changxing had her bid for this spiritual sword and where it was lacking for his use. Hey, if I have such a need in the future, I'll come to bother Shiyu for it, Lu Changxing replied with a smile. For now, this spiritual sword is quite enough for me. Lu Changxing felt quite convenient having Xiaoxia's connections. Requesting a second-rank master himself would be troublesome, but for Xiaoxia, a disciple of the Immortal sects, it was something that could be resolved within Qingyun's sect. Shiyu, someone competed with you during the auction, they might bear a grudge against you. Do you want me to go and get rid of him to settle the score? Lu Changxing said, looking at Xiaoxia who stood beside him, her figure ethereal and exquisite. It wasn't that he had become petty or vindictive. If it were him he would merely return a glare with a glare. Unless someone truly troubled him he wouldn't bother holding a grudge. Chapter 366. Marketplace Mayhem. 4 robber cultivators emerge. But when it came to Xiaoxia things were different. Moreover, it was for her own sake that Xiaoxia had bought the true Yang 5-element sword and earned this person's grudge, so naturally he had to take a stance. For such a trifle, Shiyu isn't concerned at all, Lu Lang need not be like this. Upon hearing these words, Xiaoxia immediately blossomed into a smile like a young girl and said. She was not one to fuss over minute details. Especially since cultivating the supreme forgetful love technique, her emotions were mostly undisturbed by external matters. Such trifling issues didn't linger in her heart. But Lu Changxing's words still stirred a trace of sweetness in her heart. All right, Lu Changxing agreed with a smile and nodded his head. After chatting for a bit, the two of them changed their appearance and left, returning to their cave-dwelling area with different identities. Now that the auction had ended, there was no need to maintain their Foundation establishment false identities. Otherwise, 2 Foundation establishment cultivators with undisclosed backgrounds living in the marketplace would make the 4 great families uneasy and vigilant. Upon returning to the cave-dwelling area, Lu Changxing found it to be much more crowded. It turned out that someone was preparing to attempt Foundation establishment, drawing many spectators. Moreover, the Red Leaf Valley Market had introduced a new policy. As long as certain conditions were met in the Red Leaf Market, the market would provide a dwelling for attempting Foundation establishment. To quickly increase the foot traffic in the Red Leaf Valley Market, The four great families have really put a lot of effort into it. But making such a move must also come with its share of risks, Lu Changxing said softly as he shook his head upon seeing the announcement. Generally, only large marketplaces and immortal cities provided resources for attempting foundation establishment. Red Leaf Valley only had a second-rank middle-grade spirit vein, which wasn't expansive, making it only a medium-sized marketplace. Just maintaining the internal spiritual energy of the marketplace and the operation of the Great Formation was already quite a task. If someone were to make a breakthrough to foundation establishment, extensively drawing upon nature's spiritual energy would undoubtedly affect the operation of the Great Formation. If they encountered an enemy attack during this time, it could render the Great Formation unable to operate at full capacity. However, to develop the marketplace at its initial stage, advantages had to be extended as much as possible to attract people to settle and spend. Moreover, the four great families dared to implement this policy because their own families were not far from the Red Leaf Valley market. Should any chaos ensue, they could arrive post-haste to suppress it. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. At the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop on the 3rd floor. Sister Miaoga, this step involves transitioning the flow, so you must control the spiritual power gently, like a trickling stream. On this day, Lu Changxing was guiding Lu Miaoga in talisman making. In the past, he and Lu Miaoga exchanged insights on the talisman path, or he would give her subtle pointers. Now, having broken through to foundation establishment and considered the foremost in the Lu family's talisman path, he was more inclined to show off his knowledge and directly guide her. After all, she was his wife-to-be. And by teaching and guiding her more, Lu Miaoga could also advance to second-grade talisman master in the shortest time possible. Come, let me guide you in drawing at once. After the instruction, Lu Changxing held Lu Miaoga's smooth and delicate hand, providing hands-on teaching and guiding her in drawing the talisman. Thus, after half an hour, the talisman was successfully drawn. Changxing, with your talisman-making skill, it probably won't take long before you can successfully draw second-rank talismans and become a second-grade talisman master, right? As the talisman was successfully drawn, Lu Miaoga looked at Lu Changxing with soft, gentle eyes, brimming with beauty, and spoke. As a talisman master, through such intimate teaching, she could clearly feel how exquisite Lu Changxing's level of talisman making was. Even if Lu Changxing claimed to be a second-grade talisman master, she would believe it. Because both were top-level first-grade talisman masters, yet she felt as if she and Lu Changxing were worlds apart. I estimate it'll be another year or two, Lu Changxing said with a smile. Regarding this matter, he had always had a clear understanding. He planned to reveal himself as a second-grade talisman master in about a year and a half. Ever since he announced his advancement to the 7th-level energy refinement, he had begun to exchange for second-ranked talisman-making materials at the Lu family, signaling to others that he was attempting to draw second-ranked talismans. 2 years, Lu Miaoga said on hearing this, her eyes filled with joy. After so many years of companionship and as husband and wife, she naturally knew that if Lu Changxing said so, it meant he was confident. Within 2 years he would surely become a second-grade talisman master. This filled her with immense happiness. As a wife, who wouldn't want her husband to be powerful and accomplished? A second-grade talisman master might not be comparable to a foundation establishment great cultivator, but foundation establishment cultivators would still have to show respect to a second-grade talisman master. Moreover, Lu Changxing was only in his 30s. Becoming a second-grade talisman master at his age indicated a boundless future on the talisman path. If he were willing to work for some major power and connect with foundation establishment great cultivators, he might even obtain a foundation establishment elixir and attempt foundation establishment himself. Lu Changxing saw Lu Miaoga beaming with happiness as she looked at him. In her soft, water-like beautiful eyes, there was not only the affection and attachment between husband and wife, but also a maternal radiance mingled with a young girl's adoration and admiration. This gaze, even with a mere glance, softened one's heart and caused it to flutter. There's nothing more gratifying than liking the features of someone's face. That's right, at most in 2 years your husband will become a second-grade talisman master. Lu Changxing's own heart fluttered as he saw her gaze. He remembered how tolerant Lu Miaoga had been over the years, her gentle and intelligent nature in his presence, and her understanding demeanor. He felt as if having such a wife was all a man could ever wish for. Sister Miaoga, you should know that I've always concealed my cultivation level. In fact, when I previously claimed to have broken through to the 7th level energy refinement, I had actually reached the 9th level. Knowing that the news of his imminent advancement to second-grade talisman master made Lu Miaoge so happy, Lu Changxing simply decided to share more news to make her happy. Chapter 367. Marketplace Mayhem. 4 robber cultivators emerge. After all, when they had used dual cultivation to save Lu Miaoge, she had found out that he was at the energy refinement late stage. It's just that he didn't mention it and Lu Miaoge never asked about it. Now that he had made a breakthrough in foundation establishment, it was not a big deal to reveal a little about his cultivation level. 9th level energy refinement. Changxing, you've broken through to the 9th level of energy refinement. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoge indeed couldn't hide her immense surprise, her beautiful eyes rippling softly with happiness for him. In the cultivation world, breaking through to the energy refinement late stage before the age of 40 meant there was hope for foundation establishment. Now that Lu Changxing had broken through to the 9th level of energy refinement at the age of 33, it was not at all an overstatement to call him a genius. Across all of Qingzhou Mountain, there were only a few people who could achieve the 9th level of energy refinement at such an age. Although she didn't understand how Lu Changxing with a 9th grade spiritual root had achieved such a cultivation level in just over a decade, she did not ask further. She knew that Lu Changxing had his own secrets. Of course, when have I ever deceived you? Observing her reaction, Lu Changxing couldn't help but smile and spoke accordingly. However, deep down he felt guilty for deceiving her again regarding his cultivation level. I always knew you were extraordinary, Changxing. Lu Miaoge, with her clear and gentle demeanor, said with a heart full of joy, why did you suddenly bring this up today? She had long known that Lu Changxing was at the energy refinement late stage, but she did not know the specifics of his cultivation level. Because I know, Sister Miaoge, you've always wanted me to diligently pursue cultivation and aim for foundation establishment in the future. Seeing you so happy about the second-grade talisman master, I didn't want to hide and I wanted to make you happier. Lu Changxing hugged Lu Miaoge, resting his chin lightly on her silky hair, and spoke the honest truth. I'm very happy. I believe, Changxing, that you will definitely become a foundation establishment great cultivator in the future. Lu Miaoge nestled in Lu Changxing's arms, her heart sweet and her eyes brimming with affection as she spoke softly. Having spent so many years together, she was naturally aware that Lu Changxing had many secrets. Whether it was from the time he saved her, his current 9th level energy refinement, or the previous involvement with the Three Suns elixir, among others. Outsiders might not be able to figure it out, but as his closest companion, she could sense some of it. The fact that Lu Changxing was willing to reveal some to her also made her very happy. It's not just me, it's us. In the future, we will both achieve foundation establishment. Lu Changxing said warmly. He had not only the foundation establishment elixir but also 4 foundation establishment spirit objects. He had not sold these spiritual objects, they were reserved for Lu Miaoge. With these conditions, he did not believe that Lu Miaoge would fail to succeed in foundation establishment. If she still failed, he would forcibly help Lu Miaoge condense her Dao foundation using the dual cultivation secret technique from the Yin-Yang harmony technique. Even though it would only be a fractured foundation base, it could still be slowly repaired into a flawless foundation base using the Yin-Yang 5 elements foundation base afterward. Lu Miaoge softly replied, nestling in Lu Changxing's embrace, her tender and affection-filled eyes displaying a longing for what was to come. She looked forward to that day truly coming. But family members know their own difficulties. She was very aware that without a foundation establishment elixir, relying solely on a few foundation establishment spirit objects, her chances of achieving foundation establishment were at best 2 or 3 in 10. The two of them just embraced each other quietly. Before long, Lu Miaoge's delicate body trembled slightly, her limbs felt soft, her cheeks blushed faintly, and her slender neck tilted back slightly. Is this, someone is making a breakthrough to foundation establishment? At that moment, Lu Miaoge looked out the window and saw that in the dwelling area of Red Leaf Valley, a vortex of spiritual energy was slowly gathering, and she gently stopped Lu Changxing's playful actions inside his robe. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing also stopped and looked toward the window. He immediately saw a vortex of spiritual energy several meters across steadily growing larger in the distance. This step indicated that the person had already passed the 3 tests of foundation establishment and was starting to condense spiritual liquid, preparing to lift up their Dao foundation. He must be the cultivator who bought the earth-fire spiritual liquid. It seems he has already crossed the 3 tests of foundation establishment and is now at the critical stage of foundation establishment, Lu Changxing said out loud. I heard he only has the earth-fire spiritual liquid as a foundation establishment spirit object. It's uncertain whether he'll be successful or not, Lu Miaoga murmured, her rosy cheeks tinged with a touch of sentimentality. She wasn't worried about the other party. She was seeing her own future path. After all, for most cultivators without a foundation establishment elixir, attempting foundation establishment meant staking their lives. Gambling on that 10 to 20% chance. The Lu family would produce foundation establishment hopefuls every few generations. But until the Lu family ancestor was near the end of his life and Lu Yuanzhong managed to achieve foundation establishment, it was known how difficult this life-risking chance was. Furthermore, Lu Yuanzhong managed to break through only because Lu Yuanshan had obtained the ingredients for a foundation establishment elixir in the Purple Shadow secret realm, partnered with others for alchemy, and successfully used the elixir to make the breakthrough. It's hard to say, after all, the hardest part of foundation establishment is this step where 80% fail, Lu Changxing said while playfully touching the plump and smooth snow-white skin. He had respect for someone who, without a foundation establishment elixir and only 10 to 20% chance, dared to gamble in such a way. After all, these people who were willing to give it everything typically had good foundations. Not only were their spiritual roots good, but they were also relatively young, only in their 40s or 50s. In that situation they dared to forsake everything, risking their lives for that slim chance at foundation establishment. Sister Miaoga, it's getting late. After watching for a while, Lu Changxing lost interest and said warmly to the beauty in front of him. After all, foundation-building phenomena weren't as compelling as the lovely person before his eyes. Moreover, such an event as foundation establishment wouldn't yield results in just a moment or two. It required sustained time. Lu Miaoga looked at Lu Changxing, who was acting childishly, and cooed, rolling her eyes at him with a playful scowl. Chapter 368. Marketplace Mayhem. 4 robber cultivators emerge. _4. But being entangled by Lu Changxing like this, she felt an indescribable sense of fulfillment pounding in her heart. At this moment, around the cave-dwelling area, numerous cultivators were watching the vortex of nature's spiritual energy in the sky. In large marketplaces and immortal cities, there are usually 1 or 2 people who attempt foundation establishment every year, so it's nothing out of the ordinary for everyone. But in Red Leaf Valley Market, foundation establishment is a rare event. Since it was the first time, naturally many people came to watch. Some also wanted to see if this person could succeed in their attempt. If they did succeed, then to congratulate them and become acquainted could be beneficial. Perhaps in a good mood, the successful cultivator might even bestow some rewards on them. The condensation of the gel has already begun. In another 3 days, it will be a good time to take action, someone said. Within the crowd, a tall and burly middle-aged man and a slender woman in a blue robe glanced at each other, nodded slightly and then walked away. 3 days later. That night. After the hustle and bustle of the daytime, the Red Leaf Valley Market fell into peace during the late hours. Apart from the law enforcement cultivators patrolling the airspace above the streets, only a few shops and inns still had their lights on. After all, cultivators need to rest too. Most cultivators would sleep at night, or meditate and practice cultivation. Creak. Inside an inn, 3 figures wearing gray vestment robes and bamboo hats walked out of their room. They looked at each other and nodded, then quickly made their way to the first floor. Where are the spirit stones of the shop? The lead burly man asked the shopkeeper, who was keeping vigil at the counter, in a deep voice. Spirit stones? What spirit stones? The shopkeeper asked, baffled and slow to react. But the next moment, a white bone crossbow bolt, accompanied by a terrifying aura, locked onto him. He jolted in shock as a chilling fear ran down his spine, instantly realizing what was happening. Robber cultivator. The man before his eyes was a robber cultivator, a foundation establishment robber cultivator. Senior, all the spirit stones are here. They're all here, said the shopkeeper, his legs trembling uncontrollably as he quickly took out a storage bag, his face rigidly smiling as he begged for mercy. Knowing the other party was a foundation establishment cultivator and still dared to rob so boldly, he didn't dare to resist even the slightest bit. He understood that the slightest dissatisfaction could cost him his life. Is there more? The burly man asked hoarsely after scanning the storage bag. Choosing to start from this inn was also the result of careful observation and planning. This inn did very good business. Senior, our inn settles accounts with spirit stones weekly, and the owner comes every week to clear the accounts. All the spirit stones are indeed here, explained the shopkeeper with a mournful face. After speaking somewhat painfully, he pulled out his own storage bag and said, Senior, these are my own savings. If the senior fancies them, please take them, I only ask that. But before he could finish, a small white bone arrow shot out. Pfft. The arrow pierced through the shopkeeper's head, making his eyes bulge with indignation as he died, unable to utter the words he wanted to say. He then fell to the ground with a thump, his body rapidly drained of blood by the white bone arrow, leaving a dried-up corpse. The agreed-upon time is almost upon us. You go first to interfere with the great formation. He'll handle matters here, the burly man said to the gray-robed female cultivator and the young man in gray beside him. Dad, be careful, the gray-robed young man said with concern. Stop dawdling, the burly man replied impatiently, waving his hand dismissively. Thereupon, the gray-robed woman quickly left, pulling the young man with her. Green wolf, the burly man patted his spiritual pet bag. A green wolf, 1 zhang tall, with dark green fur, gloomy eyes and ferocious fangs, appeared at his side. After the green wolf appeared, it opened its huge mouth and devoured the shopkeeper's dried-up corpse. It then went to the entrance of the inn, its eyes gleaming with a predatory light. The burly man then took out a child-sized black gourd. Go, he commanded, unsealing the gourd with hand seals. Black flames, like fire serpents, rolled out of the mouth of the gourd. Instantly the inn was engulfed in flames, with thick black smoke billowing towards the sky. Amidst the roaring black flames and the spreading smoke, cries of pain and screams began to rise from within the inn. What's going on here? It's on fire. No, this isn't just a fire, this is evil flames with poison fire. Some cultivators inside the inn, realizing the danger, immediately fled through windows or by flying on artifacts. But the burly man, along with a green giant wolf, holding the black gourd in one hand and a white bone crossbow bolt in the other, lay in ambush outside the inn. Anyone who escaped from the inn was immediately targeted by him. A white bone arrow shot out swiftly, killing the person and snatching their storage bag with practiced ease. Audacious robber cultivator, daring to cause chaos in the marketplace. Soon, the Red Leaf Valley Market's patrol enforcement team, upon noticing the situation and the rising black smoke, quickly arrived on the scene. Pfft. However, the burly man showed no fear facing this group of law enforcement cultivators. A white bone crossbow bolt was released from his hand, instantly killing a law cultivator who was at the energy refinement late stage. Not good. It's a Foundation establishment great cultivator. Quick, notify the ancestor, the other law enforcement cultivators exclaimed in shock as they took out their transmission jade tokens. At the same time, they activated a formation artifact, hoping to harness the power of the marketplace's great formation to resist the burly man. But the burly man was prepared. His expression was calm and indifferent beneath his bamboo hat as he performed hand seals, causing gray light pillars to surge from the ground. They caused the black smoke, still billowing from the burning inn, to rapidly roll towards the law enforcement cultivators, like dark clouds descending. To prevent escapees or reinforcements, he had laid a trap ahead of time. As the black smoke enveloped the law enforcement cultivators, they felt the fire poison spreading through their bodies, stiffening their movements and slowing down their spiritual power. Chapter 369. Marketplace Mayhem, 4 robber cultivators emerge. _5. Pew pew pew. The next moment, a continual barrage of white bone crossbow bolts shot out, turning into beams of soul-snatching streaks of deadly light that quickly annihilated several people. Roar. A green wolf roared beside them, devouring a few corpses. Let's go. Seeing that the cleanup on this side was almost done, the burly man adjusted the straw hat on his head and quickly charged towards a magical artifact shop. He had been preparing for this robbery for nearly half a month. He had naturally scoped out the place in the marketplace to maximize his gains as much as possible. Just as the burly man used a black gourd to break through the shop's formation with black flames and plunder it bare, he sensed a Foundation establishment aura rushing towards this area. They're finally here. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he took out a transmission talisman and crushed it. How dare you, robber cultivator, to create such chaos in our Red Leaf Valley market? A roar of anger echoed in the night sky. Before the man arrived, a fiery crimson will surged towards them. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, The golden will spun rapidly in the air, resembling a blazing sun bursting with scorching heat, its might overwhelming. Swoosh! Upon seeing this, the burly man's white bone crossbow bolt was swathed in strands of dark, dense blood, and a blood-veined white bone arrow suddenly shot out. Clang! The white bone arrow collided with the fiery crimson wheel mid-air, producing a deafening metallic clang. Subsequently, 2 currents of mana surged, stirring up waves of air currents in the night sky. A Foundation Establishment Cultivator? Yu Yuanshan looked at the burly man, his pupils contracted, showing a grave expression. But when he saw the smoky ruin of the magical artifact shop, his eyes immediately blazed with fury. This shop was in fact owned by his Yu family. There were magic artifacts inside worth nearly 10,000 spirit stones. Now that the shop had been plundered to emptiness, it was akin to losing nearly 10,000 spirit stones. This amount of spirit stones was a considerable sum for their Yu family. Dare to plunder in our Red Leaf Valley market, die! He bellowed angrily as another ice-blue crescent wheel appeared around him. The crescent wheel spun, emitting a bone-chilling coldness that lowered the surrounding air temperature by several degrees, and suddenly slashed towards the burly man. Meanwhile, he produced an array plate in his hand, manipulating it to utilize the power of the marketplace's great formation to suppress the intruder. But the next moment, boom, boom. Booming, countless flashes of lightning struck the Red Leaf Valley Market's green water cloud formation. The formation flickered, with spiritual light converging and lightning snakes wildly dancing in the night, accompanied by dull thunderous explosions that sounded one after another. At this moment, the calmness inside the market was completely shattered and turmoil erupted. Many hidden robber cultivators, as if they had received a signal, directly rushed into various shops and businesses with their magic artifacts, slaughtering their way in. What is this? Yu Yuanshan's complexion changed drastically at the sight of this. He was unafraid of his opponent in the market because of the green water cloud great formation. With the boost from this great formation, and the power of the formation aiding him, he was confident he could kill Foundation Establishment middle-stage cultivators. Even against late-stage Foundation Establishment cultivators, he would manage to delay until reinforcements arrived. However, seeing this situation, he immediately realized that those who dared to plunder the market so brazenly must have come prepared. Fellow Taoist, I don't care who you are, if you're willing to withdraw now, I am willing to let bygones be bygones and let the matter rest, Yu Yuanshan said to the burly man, suppressing the rage in his heart. At present, because someone in the Red Leaf Valley market was undergoing Foundation establishment, the internal circulation of spiritual energy was insufficient, and the great formation couldn't operate at full strength. Now that the formation was being bombarded and shaken like this, he realized that there was another Foundation Establishment cultivator on the attacker's side. Even with 2 Foundation Establishment cultivators, he could rely on the formation to barely delay until support arrived. But if the commotion continued, the entire marketplace would descend into chaos. If the marketplace fell into chaos, all the effort and management of their 4 big families over the years would be ruined. Leave now. The burly man laughed at Yu Yuanshan's words, appearing to have heard some joke. He looked at Yu Yuanshan with a hoarse voice and said, "How about this? As long as you do not interfere with me, I'll try not to plunder your Yu family's shops. Give me half an hour at most and I will leave immediately. How about that?" The burly man said. He knew he had to leave after a quick plunder. Otherwise, once the 4 big families of Red Leaf Valley Market received the message and came to support, even he would struggle to fend them off. Fellow Taoist, are you joking? If you leave now there's still time, Yu Yuanshan said darkly. In the Red Leaf Valley Market, besides their 4 big families, there were also many other Foundation Establishment families that had settled in. If he allowed the robber to plunder, they would be held accountable for compensation later on. Especially since he, Yu Yuanshan, was stationed in the Red Leaf Valley Market, his inability to prevent the incident would be inexcusable and he would struggle to explain himself. Since we can't reach an agreement, let's have a fight and see what you've got. The burly man formed hand seals, causing the black gourd to float above his head while the white bone crossbow turned into a reddish spiritual artifact longsword. What's going on? My God, someone is attacking the market. This is bad, robber cultivators. Robber cultivators have breached the market. As the heavenly cloud and water formation of the market shook, countless people woke up from their sleep or meditation and looked outside. Watching the roiling black smoke in the night sky that looked like dark clouds descending upon a city, with the green water cloud formation flashing irregularly and rumbling continuously, trembling non-stop, a wave of panic began to spread from within the market. Additionally, many loose cultivators seeing this situation couldn't help but feel greed, wanting to take advantage of the chaos for profit. Chapter 370. Marketplace Mayhem. 4 robber cultivators emerge. _6. After all, the cultivation world is a place where the strong prey on the weak, utterly unregulated. In the marketplace, rules are adhered to because Foundation establishment great cultivators are in charge, supported by law enforcement cultivators. Now that robber cultivators are attacking the marketplace, chaos reigns, order collapses, and under the temptation of immense profits, anyone could turn into a robber cultivator. Brothers, what are you waiting for? Loot? Inside a certain inn, a loose cultivator saw the situation and immediately shouted, trying to incite more people to join the action. Laner, you stay at home and take care of the children, I'll be right back. Husband, don't go, please don't. Fortune comes with risk, this may be my only chance in life, I can't give it up. Just stay safe at home, I'll be back soon. In a small courtyard, a tall man with a magical sword in hand said to his wife, this old fool has lived a life of timidity, for the sake of our descendants, it's worth a gamble. Within a narrow and simple dwelling, an old man with a face showing age and hair as white as frost, looking up at the sky, gritted his teeth. He then took out a somewhat damaged flying sword and left the house. 4 loose cultivators. The chaos in the marketplace is dangerous, but also an opportunity. Dependent on stable jobs, they can never earn many spirit stones in their lifetime. But if they can take advantage of the confusion to seize some elixir medicines, magic artifacts, or heavenly and earthly treasures, they could save countless years of effort. In a moment, the entire marketplace was filled with the sounds of combat, cries for help, and weeping, all intermingling. The Lu family compound. Robber cultivators are attacking the marketplace? Lu Changxing looking out the window at the distant commotion. At the moment Yu Yuanshan took action and the 2 Foundation establishment cultivators clashed, he had sensed the disturbance and woken from his sleep. Now he heard the great formation of Red Leaf Valley rumbling loudly. Under the roaring thunder and erratic flashes of ominous, sinister purple light, he was nearly certain that robber cultivators were attacking the marketplace. And they were striking from both inside and outside the marketplace. Otherwise, such a commotion would have been impossible. Just when someone is attempting Foundation establishment in the marketplace and the great formation can't be fully powered, robber cultivators come. Clearly they came prepared, Lu Changxing murmured calmly to himself. He had previously sensed that allowing someone to undergo Foundation establishment in the Red Leaf Valley market would increase risks. But he hadn't expected such an incident to happen so soon and with such ferocity. Changxing. At this moment, Lu Miaoge also woke up due to the noise and looked out the window, noticing the abnormal state of the green water cloud formation, her face showing shock. It seems robber cultivators are attacking the marketplace to loot. Lu Changxing turned back and said to Lu Miaoge, robber cultivators raiding the marketplace? Hearing this, Lu Miaoge was immediately startled. Such incidents have occurred in the cultivation world before. There have even been robber cultivators who secretly wiped out some cultivation families. However, these events were rare and very uncommon. She hadn't expected that the Red Leaf Valley market would encounter such an ordeal now. Our shop might also be getting looted right now, I'll go have a look. Lu Changxing said to Lu Miaoge. He could tell that the robber cultivators were mainly targeting the commercial district. They wouldn't come to the residential area. After all, the residential area where the Lu family compound was located was considered a more central part of Red Leaf Valley market. People who lived there were not ordinary in terms of status, identity, and strength. It would be more trouble than it was worth to come here, so looting shops and stores was a quicker way to gain money. I'll go with you. Lu Miaoge said immediately. Stay here in the compound, I have plenty of talismans with me and I'll be fine, Lu Changxing told Lu Miaoge. He planned to check not only the shop but also to see exactly what was happening in the marketplace. After all, the Red Leaf Valley market belonged to the 4 major families and he had both a shop and a cave dwelling there. If this chaos continued, the entire marketplace might suffer a crippling blow, taking a decade or more to recover. Uncle Yuanling is watching over the compound, Changxing, I'll go with you, Lu Miaoge continued, her beautiful face showing determination. The current situation was extremely chaotic and she truly didn't feel comfortable letting Lu Changxing go alone to investigate. After all, if robber cultivators dared to raid the marketplace, there must be Foundation establishment cultivators leading them. Otherwise the commotion wouldn't be as big. Alright, let's go together then. Lu Changxing, seeing his wife's firm expression, smiled and nodded his head. Knowing that Lu Miaoge was also stubborn despite appearing tender, and seeing her looking so determined, he found it difficult to refuse. Immediately they both left the courtyard. At this time, other members of the Lu family also began to leave their houses. Changxing Miaoge. Second elder, Sister Miaoge. Seeing Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge, they all called out. Second elder, with robber cultivators raiding the marketplace, Miaoge and I will go check our shop, Lu Changxing said to one of them. This Lu family second elder was no longer the same as the one from the Nine Dragons market. He was a newly promoted elder from last year, named Lu Yuanling. He was currently in charge of the Red Leaf Valley marketplace for the Lu family. Okay, Changxing Miaoge, be careful, Lu Yuanling said after a moment's thought, nodding his head. He knew that Lu Changxing had broken through to the 7th level energy refinement and Lu Miaoge possessed 9th level energy refinement strength. As talisman masters with talismans at their sides, they shouldn't run into much trouble. Yuan Qing, Miaofeng, Miaoyu, the rest of you follow me? He looked at several other Lu family disciples and executors issuing orders. With the marketplace in upheaval and the looting by robber cultivators, they needed to ensure the shops were secure and try to stabilize the situation as much as possible. After all, the Lu family still had the most invested in the marketplace and would suffer significant losses if the chaos continued. Understood. The others nodded and left the compound, rushing towards the commercial district. Chapter 371. Making a move, slain with one sword. _1. Plaintext, boom, boom, boom. Endless thunderous sounds bombarded the great formation of Red Leaf Valley Market, making the entire marketplace flicker between light and darkness, eerily uncertain. And the original thin mist that enveloped the marketplace now rapidly thickened at this moment, as a powerful surge of spiritual power fluctuated throughout. It turned the entire formation into the color of the sky blue jade bowl with layers of water patterns flowing on it, enveloping the market. Now that the robber cultivators were attacking the market, the four major families were unsure of the situation, whether there were more robber cultivators outside planning to attack the marketplace. Thus, faced with this situation, it was natural to fully activate the Great Formation and seal off the marketplace. To prevent robber cultivators from killing their way into the marketplace, to prevent those within from escaping, and to restrain the loose cultivators from causing chaos while waiting for support from the four major families to arrive. Boom boom boom. Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge quickly arrived at the Lu family spiritual talisman shop. They immediately saw four cultivators unleashing techniques against the Lu family spiritual talisman shop, bombarding it furiously. These groups of robber cultivators raiding the marketplace naturally picked the better shops to plunder first. And the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop in the entire marketplace was also one of the better shops, which is why it was the first to be targeted by the robber cultivators. Fellow Taoist, if this is your family's shop, we will take our leave now. If it's not your family's shop, please do not meddle. The four robber cultivators bombarding the shop's formation saw Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge rush over and immediately showed caution in their eyes. From their clothing, demeanor, and temperament, they could tell that Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge were no ordinary robber cultivators or loose cultivators. Seeing the two people hurry to this place, they guessed that it was very likely that they were the shop owners. Therefore they were unwilling to engage in conflict. After all, with the market in chaos, their goal was to profit as quickly as possible. There was no need for pointless strife. Clang. Without a word, Lu Changxing slapped his storage bag, and the green-faced sword was unsheathed. He had mostly sold the unused flying swords and magical artifacts he had on him. Only the green-faced sword the fourth elder had given him remained. Now that Lu Miaoge was by his side, it was inconvenient to show off the spiritual artifact, so he used this magical sword instead. However, to kill these robber cultivators, a magical sword was already enough. Swoosh, the flying sword unsheathed, its green-gold light circling, the blade unveiled striking brilliance, strands of sword chi spat out, like a divine rainbow directly lunging at the four people. All four were attacking his shop. How could he waste time talking with them? Not good. Watch out. Seeing the flying sword coming toward them, the four hastily stimulated their protective auras and wielded their magic artifacts. But even the most advanced among them was only at the 8th level energy refinement stage. Faced with the extremely sharp green-face sword with explosive sword chi, slashing at them, they had no time to defend and couldn't stop it. Thunk thunk thunk. The protective auras around the four were instantly pierced by the cold sword chi, followed by their heads being severed by the blade's light. With one move, one at the energy refinement late stage, three at the middle stage, all died. Changxing. Seeing this scene, Lu Miage's eyes revealed shock and surprise. She was surprised not only by Lu Changxing's strength, but also by his decisiveness and ruthlessness in killing. After so many years of living together, in her eyes, Lu Changxing had always been a gentle and refined man, handling matters as gently as a breeze or drizzling rain. He never argued or fought with others, much less engage in combat or killing. So at this moment, seeing Lu Changxing decisively act against the four robber cultivators without mercy and instantly slaying them, she was utterly astonished. It was as if she had seen another side of her husband. These people wanted to profit from the chaos, so they should be ready for this. Lu Changxing let out a light laugh, said casually, and sheathed the green-face sword. In this situation he didn't bother to hide anything in front of Lu Miaoge. Or rather, in terms of acting decisively, he had not really hidden it. It's just that his disposition was inherently easygoing and gentle, and when dealing with family he would not show any killer instinct. I know, it's just the first time I've seen you act so decisively, Changxing, which is why I was surprised. Lu Miaoge pursed her lips, her eyes full of softness, and spoke gently. She did not mind Lu Changxing killing people. In her eyes this was not something evil or bad. In the ruthless cultivation world, if you don't kill, others will kill you. Whether it's an individual or a family, once you step on the path of cultivation, you cannot escape killing. Just like the time when the Lu family and the Qin family battled, when the Lu family and the Bai family went to war with many of the Pingan family's children, it was a way to let their own children experience a baptism of blood to understand the cruelty of the cultivation world. Mistress. At this time, from inside the spiritual talisman shop, two young women hurried out, their souls still unsettled as they called out to Lu Miaoge, Lu Changxing. They were apprentices at the spiritual talisman shop. They lived there on regular days. The recent events had scared them quite a bit. Xiaoyun, Xiaoshui, you've worked hard. Lu Miaoge said with a gentle face, looking at the two. Sister Miaoge, you stay here, I'm going to check on the Peace Talisman Hall. Lu Changxing said to Lu Miaoge. Given the spiritual talisman shop was targeted, he estimated his talisman shop suffered the same fate. Moreover, with Lu Miaoge by his side, he couldn't exhibit his full strength, and his actions were somewhat hindered. Okay, Changxing, be careful. Lu Miaoge nodded. She didn't say she wanted to accompany Lu Changxing any longer. Her insistence on being with Lu Changxing before was due to her lack of confidence in him. Worried that, despite his cultivation level, he was not adept at combat. But having now witnessed Lu Changxing's strength and decisiveness, her worries dissipated. Knowing that Lu Changxing was even better than her in combat and killing. Sister Miaoge, rest assured, I have talismans with me, nothing will happen. You also be careful, and send me a message immediately if anything happens. Chapter 372. Making a move, slain with one sword. Lu Changxing nodded his head. Red Leaf Valley Market was not very big. In case of any emergencies he could rush over quickly. Thus, he wasn't worried that Lu Miaoge would encounter any accidents. Moreover, with Lu Miage's 9th level energy refinement cultivation level and talismans by her side, as long as she didn't run into any foundation establishment cultivators, she would be fine. Okay, Lu Miaoge nodded lightly. Then she led two apprentices into the spiritual talisman shop, fully activating the shop's formations to prevent any robber cultivators from coming again. Lu Changxing, holding the green-face sword, steered his flying artifact towards the Peace Talisman Hall. Haha, rob everything now while you can. Once the chaos is subdued, there will be no more chances. Haha, exhilarating. With these elixir medicines, I can break through to the energy refinement late stage. On the streets, several robber cultivators were attacking a shop. After blasting open the shop's formation, they went in and plundered everything. Puff puff puff. Seeing this situation, Lu Changxing stepped forward and struck without any mercy, slashing to kill the offenders. Robber cultivators deserved death. In face of such, he naturally would not show mercy. These ill-gotten gains will be considered robbing the wicked to aid the poor. After burning the bodies of the several people, Lu Changxing picked up the storage bags, thinking to himself. Boom boom boom. Just then a surge of mana power fluctuations swept across the area from ahead. The nearby loft that was engulfed in flames could no longer bear the burden and collapsed with a crash into ruins. Lu Changxing looked up. He saw the patriarch of the Yu family up in the sky, wielding a red-yellow disc and an ice-blue crescent wheel, clashing with a robust man wearing a bamboo hat and holding a red long knife. Each collision of their magic artifacts caused a fearsome might. This patriarch of the Yu family seems pretty weak. Lu Changxing frowned slightly as he watched the robust man and the patriarch of the Yu family fight. He noted that the patriarch of the Yu family's strength seemed no different from that of the former Lu family ancestor and ancestor Qin. Compared to the red-robed youth and Meng Yibai, he was much weaker. Well, that's to be expected. Qingzhou Mountain, Hundred Birds Lake, Wugong Ridge, and even Bai Lake Mountain. These families are all minor ones. Not only is their foundation limited, their ancestors spend most of their time after the foundation establishment in the family, rarely venturing out for experience, so their strength is naturally ordinary. It's impossible for them to compare with robber cultivators that dare to plunder the marketplace, let alone the red-robed youth and Meng Yibai from before, Lu Changxing thought internally. This robust man who dared to rob the marketplace naturally had some strength and methods. As for the red-robed youth and Meng Yibai, he had reaped spoils of war valued at more than 100,000 spirit stones from the red-robed youth, among which there was even a peripheral sect-level cultivation method. From this, one could see that this person was not simple. One should know that the four big families, with hundreds of years of inheritance, had at most high-grade cultivation techniques and exquisite-level cultivation methods. From this, one could see the disparity between them. As for Meng Yibai, there was no need to say more. Not only was he an elite disciple of Qingyun's sect, but he also had a false core elder, so naturally his strength was among the best. However, looking at this robber cultivator, he seems to still have some strength to spare. Lu Changxing's brows furrowed as he watched the gray-robed robber cultivator who kept clashing with the patriarch of the Yu family. He felt that the other party was dealing with the patriarch of the Yu family's attacks quite comfortably, as if he had plenty of room to maneuver. This robber cultivator is just trying to delay the patriarch of the Yu family. Lu Changxing's eyes narrowed slightly. He glanced again at the marketplace's green water cloud formation that was flickering in the sky above. At that moment, the formation was already fully operational. But under the constant interference of endless lightning, it could only defend and seal off the marketplace, making it difficult to suppress the enemy. Indeed, these robber cultivators came prepared, and there are quite a few accomplices. What he wants to do is to keep the patriarch of the Yu family occupied while his accomplices take the opportunity to plunder the marketplace. So, he doesn't want to push the patriarch of the Yu family into a corner. After all, although the marketplace's green water cloud formation is interfered with and affected, it's not broken. If the patriarch of the Yu family gets desperate and abandons the marketplace's seal, letting the formation fully enhance his own body to attack and subdue the enemy, this person will also have a tough time handling it. He might not die but would surely be skinned. Lu Changxing stroked his chin and roughly understood the situation. The marketplace's green water cloud formation was indeed being interfered with from multiple angles. But it was not useless. It's just that by using its full force to seal the marketplace, it was no longer available for subduing enemies. If the patriarch of the Yu family abandoned the formation's sealing and was willing to pay some price, he could still control the formation to kill enemies. But doing that would not only result in his own loss. The marketplace would descend into complete chaos as well. After all, no one was clear about the situation of the robber cultivators inside and outside the marketplace. Currently, there were many loose cultivators who, seeing the marketplace sealed by the formation, did not dare to take the risk and become robber cultivators. If there was no longer a formation seal, then all restraints would be lifted. However, continuing like this is not the solution. This patriarch of the Yu family is too useless. He clearly cannot take down this robber cultivator. He can only delay and wait for reinforcements to arrive, but it will take at least an hour for help from nearby Qingzhou Mountain to arrive. In an hour, this marketplace will have been completely plundered, with not only heavy losses incurred but also the number of people coming here will surely plummet. Lu Changxing watched as the marketplace gradually erupted into flames, with the sounds of spells exploding and clashing coming from afar, his brows slightly furrowed. He knew that if this continued, not only would the marketplace be robbed, but many would die as well. Forget it, I might as well take action. After all, it's considered my marketplace and he'll need to stay here for a long time, Lu Changxing thought to himself, ready to disguise himself and step in to end the chaos. Just at that moment, the sensing talisman in his storage bag lit up. It was Xiaoxia's sensing talisman. Chapter 373, Making a Move, Slain with One Sword. He immediately channeled mana into the jade talisman. Thus, the other party could sense his position. Changxing. Before long, a woman veiled in light gauze, dressed in a blue dress, and maneuvering a flying artifact, came and transmitted her voice to him. Xiyu. Lu Changxing looked at the woman. He knew the person who came was Xiaoxia. The other party did not wish to reveal their identity, which is why they had disguised themselves. Changxing, what's happening? Xiaoxia had been meditating in the cave-dwelling area and was also awakened by the commotion of the marketplace's great formation. So she immediately came looking for Lu Changxing to check the situation. It should be someone in the marketplace undergoing foundation establishment, causing the marketplace's great formation to be affected during this time, unable to operate at full strength, and thus drawing the attention of robber cultivators. Lu Changxing relayed through divine sense. Do you need me to take action? Upon hearing this, Xiaoxia looked towards the sky, at the patriarch of the Yu family who was fighting with the brawny man. She knew that Lu Changxing did not wish to expose his identity or cultivation level and found it inconvenient to act. I'll do it. You hold back and see how things unfold before you act, Lu Changxing said to Xiaoxia. Now that he had the 7 luminaries heart lamp and the true young 5-element sword, he also wanted to see how his combat prowess was. Moreover, judging from the battle scene, Xiaoxia taking action might not be enough to resolve the situation. After all, according to his earlier speculation, those who dared to loot the marketplace like this must have something up their sleeve, including other Foundation establishment cultivators. Alright, then let Xiyu witness Lu Lang's heroic bearing. Xiaoxia responded with a slight smile upon hearing this. She knew that Meng Yibai had died at the hands of Lu Changxing. Therefore she was quite confident in Lu Changxing's abilities. Moreover, she also wanted to witness Lu Changxing's strength. Alright, today you shall see, Lu Changxing replied, also with a light chuckle. He then found a secluded spot where no one was around and put on the 100 Illusions mask. Instantly, his handsome face changed into something rougher and more ferocious. His long hair scattered, and he exchanged his green robe for a dark, wide robe. This should do it. After disguising himself, Lu Changxing checked his appearance. Unless the other party possessed some eye technique, they should not be able to see his true face. The next moment, his figure shot out, changing his position. Mana surged within his body, forming an escape light that shot into the sky. A Foundation establishment great cultivator? The patriarch of the Yu family and the brawny man engaged in combat, both looked towards Lu Changxing in the escape light, taken aback. They did not understand the situation and whether Lu Changxing was friend or foe. Another Foundation establishment great cultivator? How has another Foundation establishment great cultivator appeared? Could this person also be a robber cultivator? If so, Ancestor Yu is in danger. Inside the marketplace, many people were focused on the combat in the sky. Seeing an escape light shooting into the sky, they all showed shocked and anxious expressions. They did not know if this Foundation establishment great cultivator was good or bad. If this Foundation establishment great cultivator were also a robber cultivator, then the marketplace would be doomed, and they would be in danger too. What's all this noise late at night? Not letting people rest, are you? Lu Changxing stood with his hands behind him, a few yards away from the two men, with a look of displeasure. Powered up by the profound origin bead, he radiated a mana imposing enough not to be inferior to that of a mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. Fellow Taoist, I am in charge of this Red Leaf Valley market. This person is a troublesome robber cultivator. I beg you to lend a hand. Afterward, our Red Leaf Valley market will surely offer you a generous reward. The patriarch of the Yu family called out, a trace of panic in his heart. He did not understand how a Foundation establishment great cultivator had been concealed within the marketplace. Feeling that Lu Changxing was not allied with the present robber cultivator, he promptly asked for help respectfully. I'm sorry for disturbing your rest, fellow Taoist. These spirit stones are for compensating you. Please forgive us, and I shall leave after an incense stick's burn time, the brawny man said, taking out a storage bag and tossing it towards Lu Changxing. He also did not understand how a mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator suddenly emerged in the marketplace. But he did not want any trouble. After all, if Lu Changxing joined forces with Ancestor Yu, he would not be able to continue looting. Not bad, quite straightforward, Lu Changxing said as he fetched the storage bag. Glancing casually inside, he saw over 1,000 spirit stones. He thought to himself that this robber cultivator was much more decisive than the patriarch of the Yu family. Fellow Taoist, this is just a deposit. As long as you are willing to help, my Yu family will definitely reward you well. The patriarch of the Yu family, seeing this act, hastened to say, gritting his teeth. He too immediately took out a valuable treasure from his storage bag for Lu Changsheng. Good, I hope your Yu family's reward will not disappoint me, Lu Changsheng said as he scanned the patriarch of the Yu family with a grave voice. Without wasting any more time, his whole Bodhis mana surged, his hair wildly waving in the air, as he lifted the true Yang 5-element sword. Do you truly intend to oppose me, fellow Taoist? The brawny man, seeing this gesture, scowled under his hat, looking rather displeased. He was not someone with a kind temper. It was just that he didn't want to be affected by Lu Changsheng and bring more trouble upon himself, which is why he voluntarily offered compensation. But Lu Changsheng's actions made him feel snubbed. Daring to threaten me? Lu Changsheng looked towards the brawny man and with a breath, he released something. A starry ancient lamp flew out from within him. It was the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. Go! Lu Changsheng did not hide his strength, pouring a vast amount of mana into the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. The lamp's flames flickered, 7 stars circled, shining brightly. Infinite sword chi spread from the lamp, exuding a sharp aura, slashing towards the brawny man. Humph, do you really think I'm easy to bully? The brawny man, seeing this, squeezed his hands into a spell. A giant black gourd hovered above his head from which rolling black flames spread out like a black fire dragon, rushing towards the strands of sword chi. The patriarch of the Yu family, witnessing this scene, immediately showed an expression of pleasant surprise. Chapter 374, Making a Move, Slain with One Sword. _4. Lu Changsheng acted decisively to lend his assistance. Immediately, he continued to drive the red and ice-blue crescent wheels towards the burly man. However, he did not use his full strength, still wary of Lu Changsheng. Worried that the other party was playing a double act, preparing to launch a sneak attack on him. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, hundreds of fierce 7 luminary sword chi surged forth, annihilating the burly man's black fire dragon, reducing it to black smoke that scattered away. Then they continued to surge towards the burly man. Not good. The burly man sensed trouble. He saw that the other's strength and tactics were clearly superior to his own. Seeing Lu Changsheng casting sword techniques again with the flying sword morphing into several blades, he dared not hold back either. Mana surged around his body, and a black spiritual armor emerged, wrapping around him tightly. Roar! At the same time, a terrifying roar from a fierce beast echoed. A vicious and ferocious green giant wolf could be seen rising to the skies, surrounded by wind blades sweeping across like thousands of blades, heading straight for Lu Changsheng. This green wolf was unmistakably a second-rank demon beast. A second-rank demon beast? This man actually has a second-rank spiritual pet. The patriarch of the Yu family, upon seeing the green wolf, had his pupils shrink. Only then did he realize that the other party was not only not using his full strength against him but also had a second-rank demon beast in reserve. This sent a chill through his heart. Xianxia, upon seeing this scene, had a crescent moon wheel appear in her hand. Should Lu Changsheng be in danger, she was ready to take action immediately. Sword Shadow Dividing Light Technique, slash. However, Lu Changsheng watched the approaching green wolf with a calm expression. He formed hand seals and pointed at the 9 true Yang 5-element swords in front of him. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The flying swords vibrated, their light flowing, unleashing astonishing power, accompanied by the sound of sword cries. They abruptly struck out like raging waves, blazing flames in the sky, shooting stars chasing the moon and thunder and lightning. Thud, thud, thud. It was over in an instant. The green wolf, which was rushing towards Lu Changsheng, suddenly stiffened, let out a mournful howl. Immediately after, multiple wounds of varying severity appeared all over its body, dark blood spurted, splattering across the sky. And then with a thump, it fell from the sky. The second-rank demon beast, dead. How is this possible? The burly man's face changed drastically, and his eyes nearly split open upon seeing this scene. The green wolf was but a second-rank early-stage demon beast. But it was still a second-rank demon beast. In existence on the same level as a Foundation Establishment great cultivator. Moreover, compared to Foundation Establishment cultivators, Demon beasts were generally more resistant to damage and much harder to kill. But now it had been slain in one blow by someone. Such power was truly hair-raising. This? It wasn't just the burly man, the patriarch of the Yu family who saw this scene was also shocked, his eyes wide and heart pounding. One strike to kill a second-ranked demon beast, such strength was simply astounding. He felt that if he were to face such a strike, he himself might not last many exchanges. Changxing. Not far away, Xianxia, who was ready to act at any moment, looked upon this scene, her cold beautiful eyes gleaming brightly. She knew Lu Changxing's strength was not simple. Otherwise he wouldn't have been able to slay Meng Yibai. In her estimation, Lu Changxing must have relied on a variety of methods and trump cards to kill Meng Yibai. Otherwise, how could Lu Changxing, who had just broken through to Foundation Establishment, possibly slay Meng Yibai, who was at the middle stage of Foundation Establishment? But now, seeing a second-ranked demon beast effortlessly slain by Lu Changxing's sword, she felt her heart skip a beat in surprise. Realizing that Lu Changxing was several times more powerful than she had imagined, and even more monstrously talented. Sword cultivators, how terrifying they are. Hiss, to actually slay a second-ranked demon beast with a single sword strike. Rumors have it that sword cultivators are unparalleled in offense, invincible amongst their peers, and today I have finally witnessed it. Could this person be from the Heavenly Sword sect? Many people in the distance, upon seeing this scene, gaped in astonishment and exclaimed with shock. People like those from the Red Leaf Valley Market, who usually had little chance to see Foundation Establishment great cultivators fight, had never witnessed such an incredible technique. They were so astonished they didn't know what to say, looking up at Lu Changxing in the sky with eyes full of shock, respect, envy, and longing. Chapter 375. One sword breaks 10,000 laws, the turmoil ends. _1. Boss. Just as the green wolf was slain by Lu Changxing, a woman dressed in a gray robe, wearing a bamboo hat, burst into the sky and arrived beside the burly man. She and her son had raided the marketplace and interfered with the formation, but she had also been keeping an eye on the situation here. Seeing her spiritual pet cut down by a single sword strike filled her with alarm. She dared not let her husband continue to face Lu Changxing and the patriarch of the Yu family alone. Indeed, another Foundation Establishment great cultivator was hidden. When the patriarch of the Yu family saw the woman, his heart skipped a beat, and his face showed solemn concern. He had speculated that there was another great cultivator skilled in formation based on the state of the great formation they had encountered earlier. Thus he had remained vigilant throughout, lest the opponent should suddenly launch a sneak attack, leaving him no time to invoke the formation to quell the enemy. Another Foundation Establishment robber cultivator. Hiss, with two Foundation Establishment robber cultivators leading the charge, no wonder they dared to plunder the marketplace. If not for the intervention of this senior sword cultivator, tonight could have been dire. The crowd in the marketplace witnessing the scene, were all utterly astonished. Xianxia calmly gripped her moon ring, watching the scene unfold, ready to intervene at any moment. Fellow Taoist, we admit defeat and are willing to leave as is. The burly man glanced at his wife, swallowed his anger and with a hoarse voice, spoke to Lu Changxing. Even though his spiritual pet had been killed and his heart was full of rage, the sword strike from Lu Changxing just now made it clear that he was no match for Lu Changxing. If the fight continued, the only one to suffer would be himself. He was currently wanted by the Heavenly Sword sect and had planned to make a quick score and leave. If he made too much noise or got injured, escaping Jianghu country would become troublesome. Phew. The patriarch of the Yu family let out a sigh of relief upon hearing the burly man's words. Though the marketplace had suffered losses, if the situation could end like this, in his view, it was within an acceptable range. You disturb my rest and you think to leave like this? You may go if you wish, but leave your storage bag and sever an arm. Lu Changxing's expression was indifferent as he stood with his hands behind his back and declared. His intervention had been to take on the role of an arrogant sword cultivator. If he were to let them leave so easily, wouldn't it look as if he had no face? It would seem as though his intervention was solely to quell the disturbance in the marketplace. Upon these words, the face of the patriarch of the Yu family stiffened, and he looked at Lu Changxing, astounded. He had not expected that when the robber cultivators were willing to back down, Lu Changxing would refuse. But remembering the might of Lu Changxing's sword that had killed a second-ranked demon beast, his lips twitched as he wanted to speak but then hesitated, not daring to dissuade him. The burly man's face instantly darkened. Looking at Lu Changxing, he said coldly, "Fellow Taoist, do not take things too far. Do you really think you have us completely at your mercy?" Although he admitted to himself that he was no match for Lu Changxing, he was not afraid of him. He simply did not wish to engage in a senseless struggle. Taking things too far? Lu Changxing, hearing this remark, scoffed. Then, with an indifferent expression and an air of arrogance, he said, "Since you do not know how to seize the opportunity when given, let's settle it under the sword then." As his words concluded, the firelight from the 7 luminaries' heart lamp above his head flickered, and countless fierce sword chi burst forth, with dozens of strands. Each strand of sword chi was comparable to a foundation establishment strike, incredibly astonishing. Shimmering shadow condensation sword technique. At the same time, Lu Changxing formed hand seals, and mana surged within him like mighty rivers, making the profound origin bead in his dantian churn with power. Suddenly, the buzzing 9 flying swords trembled, bathed in all kinds of radiance, bursting with blinding brightness. Thereupon, the 9 swords merged into a gigantic sword, black, white, green, red, yellow, and blue, 7 colors intermixed, spanning several zhang and radiating a terrifying presence. The burly man and the gray-robed female cultivator both showed looks of horror upon seeing this. Having struggled their way through the cultivation world, their vision was extraordinary. They recognized at a glance that Lu Changxing's technique was powerful. They couldn't comprehend how such a formidable sword cultivator could exist in the small Red Leaf Valley market. Even the Heavenly Sword sect disciples who had pursued them before were not this fearsome. Seeing the overwhelming sword chi already on them, the two had no time to think more and acted without hesitation. The burly man took out a white bone crossbow bolt, spat a mouthful of blood onto it, turning it blood red and surging with a deadly aura, and shot it piercing through the air towards Lu Changxing. The blood-imbued white bone arrow was exceedingly sharp, blood runes swirling around it, tearing through the strands of 7 luminary sword chi. The gray-robed female cultivator, facing the 7-colored giant sword above, brought out a gleaming yellow ancient mirror. The ancient mirror rose in the air, becoming a bright moon under the night sky, shining with dazzling brilliance. Then it formed layer upon layer of golden light shields, akin to the great sun golden bell, enveloping and defending both of them. Slash. At that moment, Lu Changxing completed his sword technique, pointing indifferently towards the 7-colored giant sword from above. Boom. The giant sword slashed down from the sky. This one strike seemed as if it could cleave heaven and earth, blazing brightly in the night, causing everyone in the marketplace to watch this earth-shattering swordplay. Clang! The sword chi tore through the air like a fierce storm, and the blood-stained white bone arrow wailed, trembling continuously, as the blood runes on it dissipated at a visible rate, plummeting from the sky. Boom boom boom. Then the giant sword crashed onto the shield resembling the great sun golden bell, causing deafening noises to reverberate. Under this one strike, the golden great bell showed dense, web-like cracks, as the floating yellow ancient mirror above shuddered continuously, its light dimming. The 7-colored giant sword vibrated violently, its power spreading, continuing to slash down with mana like raging waves, fierce and domineering, as if to split both shield and persons alike. Not good. This person is not only a sword cultivator but also a battle-hardened one among them, his combat strength as sharp as foundation establishment late stage. Chapter 376. One sword breaks 10,000 laws, the turmoil ends. With one stroke of the sword, the gray-robed female cultivator's face turned pale, sensing that even her golden light mirror might be shattered directly. Her hands continually formed seals, a surge of mana pouring into the golden light mirror, forcibly sustaining it. At the same time she looked at Lu Changxing, shouting loudly, "Fellow Taoist, please stop, we have offended you tonight, for which my husband and I are wrong. We are willing to offer an apology." "An apology? Do you think you can start and stop fighting whenever you wish?" Lu Changxing said coldly. Clapping his hands together fiercely, the 7-colored giant sword emitted a thunderous rumbling, the force of its descent growing even more terrifying. Rumble, a huge explosion sounded. Although the ancient mirror emitted intense golden light, solidifying the golden bell, it let out a piteous cry under this fierce attack. Not only did the golden bell explode with a bang, shattering into pieces, but the surface of the mirror also cracked. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, The dreadful mana aftershock swept through the surroundings, lifting layers of airwaves and causing nearby shops and houses to collapse, teetering on the brink of destruction. Such might from a single sword, it's terrifying. The patriarch of the Yu family immediately churned his mana, his robe fluttering, forming a shield of air to nullify the shockwaves, his heart shocked by the immense power of this one strike. Pfft. The ancient mirror shattered, the golden bell broke, making the gray-robed female cultivator's face turn ghastly pale, her figure unstable as she fiercely spat out a mouthful of vital blood. This vital blood flew straight toward the ancient mirror, making it instantly burst forth with light again, projecting a golden barrier to block the incoming giant sword. Damn, how could there be such an entity in a newly established marketplace? At this moment, the burly man also turned pale, looking extremely ugly. He knew he had underestimated his opponent. The Lu Changxing before him was even more terrifying than they had imagined. Run! He took out a second-rank Supreme Talisman, a Fire Dragon Talisman, from his storage bag, activated it against Lu Changxing, and then, together with his wife, they transformed into an escape light and hurriedly fled for their lives. Slice! Lu Changxing looked at the roaring second-rank Fire Dragon Talisman and coldly shouted. Plop! A crisp sound rang out. The seven-colored giant sword directly shattered the assault from the second-rank talisman, which was on par with the pinnacle strike of a Foundation establishment cultivator. Unabated, its sword might continued charging towards the burly man. Sensing the sword chi breaking through the air behind him, the burly man had no choice but to take out numerous second-rank Supreme Defense Talismans, activating them for use. The talismans formed a thick light barrier, guarding the husband and wife. Hiss, so strong. This is too powerful. Facing two robber cultivators alone and making them utterly unable to fight back. If there was only one robber cultivator, I'm afraid they would be slain by a single sword just like the second-rank demon beast earlier. Is this what it means to be a sword cultivator? Sword cultivators, a single sword to break all spells, absolutely terrifying. The crowd watching the battle from the marketplace were all astonished. All sorts of techniques and divine skills, all cleaved apart by one sword, simple and brutal. The patriarch of the Yu family, seeing this scene, felt his throat dry and his mental spirit tremble. As a Foundation establishment cultivator, he was more keenly aware of the terrifying nature of Lu Changxing's assault than the other people in the marketplace. He felt that if it were him facing such an offense, he would likely be wiped out by a single sword strike. Seeing the two robber cultivators trying to run away, he didn't stay to watch the spectacle any longer. He immediately took action, sealing off their path ahead. Now Lu Changxing clearly wanted to kill the two of them, and if they were allowed to escape and Lu Changxing blamed him, that would be terrible. Not far away, Xianxia watched this scene, looking at Lu Changxing in the sky, her beautiful eyes conveying admiration. She had been worried that Lu Changxing might be in danger facing two alone. But seeing the battle unfold, she knew her worries were completely unnecessary. The combat strength displayed by Lu Changxing now was comparable to that of a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. Seeing the person she adored being so outstanding, she was overjoyed and excited, her eyes sparkling with delight. Damn it, are you truly intent on showing no mercy, not giving my husband and I a way to survive? Faced with Lu Changxing's assault, the burly man and gray-robed female cultivator, already at a disadvantage and only able to flee, now had their escape route sealed by the spiritual artifact of the patriarch of the Yu family, suddenly spoke with grim faces. Both of their hands produced several talismans and one heavenly thunder pearl. As robber cultivators who had wandered far and caused trouble to be pursued by the heavenly sword sect, naturally, they had various means at their disposal. Now, trapped in a desperate situation, they no longer held back. The patriarch of the Yu family, seeing the talismans and heavenly thunder pearl in their hands, showed a look of wariness in his eyes. A Foundation establishment great cultivator might not fear the heavenly thunder pearl, able to dodge its explosive force. But so many talismans combined with the heavenly thunder pearl could still pose a danger if he was not careful. To think you still dare threaten me at the brink of death? Lu Changxing, garbed in his mystic robe, his hair dancing wildly, said with a sneer, exuding a disdainful and lofty air. Slice. His seven luminaries heart lamp above his head, his hands forming seals, he pointed towards the seven-colored giant sword, continuing his assault on the two of them. Boom boom boom. Ancient patterns swirled atop the seven-colored giant sword, with an awe-inspiring dominance. In Lu Changxing's hands, The true Yang 5-element swords might seem to explode to its utmost limit. Husband, there is a weak point in the Great Formation 90 degrees to the front. Use the Heavenly Thunder Pearl to break through the formation and take Yuer away from here. The gray-robed female cultivator, her face deathly pale, knew that if they didn't pay a price now, they might both die right here. As she spoke, she forcibly stimulated the cracked ancient mirror to form a golden light screen. At the same time she slapped her storage bag and a blue pearl flew out, shining brilliantly, creating layers of water screens. Damn it! The burly man's expression was dark and grim, somewhat ferocious. Chapter 377. One sword breaks 10,000 laws, the turmoil ends. I never expected that after all these years, having escaped the pursuit and killing of the Heavenly Sword sect, I would actually stumble here. But I also know that now there is only one choice. As long as I break through the marketplace blockade, I have an escape secret technique, and there's hope for survival. Otherwise, even if I fight desperately with Lu Changxing, we're both headed down a path of certain death. At once, the burly man activated several talismans. Next, holding a red long knife, he broke through the offensive of the patriarch of the Yu family and hurled a heavenly thunder pearl toward the weak point of the formation, aiming to blast a hole into it and seize the chance to escape. Boom boom boom. The heavenly thunder pearl landed at the weak point of the formation, causing deafening and continuous explosions. Boom boom boom. At the same time, Lu Changxing's 7-colored giant sword slashed down like a tsunami, breaking through layers of defenses cast by the gray-robed female cultivator. Up against such an assault, the gray-robed female cultivator had long been unable to hold on, her face completely bloodless, her body swaying clearly at her limit. Ha! The heartfelt bond between the husband and wife indeed made Lu Changxing feel quite emotional. But he showed no mercy. With a low shout, the 7 luminaries' heart lamp above his head burst forth with blindingly brilliant light. The central lamp flickered as countless sword chi poised and ready to strike erupted violently at that moment. Wish wish wish, the sword chi was like the wind and the murderous intent was like a tide. Each strand of sword chi contained a peerless killing intent, capable of taking lives. At that moment, when hundreds of strands of sword chi were unleashed together, their power was incredibly formidable, so much so that even an average foundation establishment middle-stage cultivator would struggle to defend. Thump, thump, thump. Under the onslaught of the 7-colored giant sword's attack, the already faltering gray-robed female cultivator faced this tumultuous sword chi, and instantly all her defenses were shattered, her body pierced and blood sprayed out. The golden light mirror overhead, showing cracks, dimmed completely upon losing its master and fell from the sky. The tide-like deadly sword chi continued to target the burly man. Fellow Taoist, spare my life, am willing to sever my arm and hand over the storage bag. Seeing his wife dead, the burly man in gray robes lost all his previous domineering demeanor, his expression filled with utmost panic. His black spirit armor pulsated, forming a black membrane barely resisting the sharp sword chi as he cried out loudly. Without waiting for Lu Changxing's response, he directly took up his magic artifact, and with a swift movement, severed his own arm. Chop. But Lu Changxing was indifferent to this spectacle, as the 7-colored giant sword continued its relentless assault. Bang! The burly man's severed arm suddenly exploded at that very moment, turning into a splatter of blood that enveloped his body and propelled him away at high speed. He fled through the hole created by the large explosion at the weak point of the formation. He wasn't foolish, he knew that pleading to Lu Changxing wouldn't spare his life. Therefore, through the pretense of pleading for mercy by severing an arm, he actually performed a blood escape secret technique. Where do you think you're going? The patriarch of the Yu family, who had been watching the battle, immediately took action upon witnessing the scene. The red-yellow disc and the ice-blue crescent wheel flew out simultaneously, blocking the hole at the formation's weak point. He had been prepared to intervene throughout the ordeal, fearing that the burly man would escape. Leaving aside whether Lu Changxing would blame him, the current situation was such that if the burly man were to escape, he would surely come back to seek revenge on Red Leaf Valley Market, taking vengeance on their 4 great families. Being targeted by a foundation establishment great cultivator looking for an opportunity for revenge would leave any family restless. Just as the patriarch of the Yu family's spiritual artifacts obstructed the burly man, endless 7 luminary sword chi surged toward him, sealing him off from all directions. Pfft. Then the 7-colored giant sword instantly chopped down, cleaving him in two as if sundering heaven and earth, with blood spattering everywhere. Dead. 2 Foundation establishment cultivators have fallen. Sword cultivators, they are simply 2. It's finally over. Everyone watching this scene found themselves at a loss for words. This battle was like a one-sided crush. Lu Changxing acted, and it was always with a single slash. The 2 Foundation establishment robber cultivators faced that slash, yet could only continuously defend and parry, their every move shattered by that one slash. The robber cultivators who had caused chaos before, the loose cultivators who had turned themselves into robber cultivators, went pale when they witnessed this scene. Knowing that the turmoil was now suppressed, they would next face the reckoning of the Red Leaf Valley Market and the 4 great families. Father, mother? A young man in gray robes saw this and his eyes turned bloodshot, filled with immense grief. He hadn't expected that his parents would both fall here. Father, mother, if you hadn't been trying to gather Foundation establishment resources for your child, you wouldn't have had to rob the marketplace and die here. Rest assured, your child will definitely succeed in achieving Foundation establishment and will seek revenge for you. The young man in gray robes took a deep look at Lu Changxing and the patriarch of the Yu family in the distance, hatred filling his eyes. He then quickly found an empty alley and changed his disguise. Having spent so many years adventuring with his parents, committing numerous acts of murder and arson, he knew that now with the market's unrest suppressed, the law enforcement cultivators of the 4 great families would begin to settle accounts with the robber cultivators, and he had to hide well to survive this purge. Humph, to disturb my rest and dare to threaten me? Lu Changxing sneered coldly, arrogant and domineering. As he spoke, he reached out his large hand and collected the bodies of the burly man and gray-robed woman, their storage bags and magic artifacts, pocketing them all. Afterward, he turned to look at the patriarch of the Yu family nearby. He considered whether to kill the patriarch of the Yu family. After all, the relationship between the Yu family and the Lu family had never been good, and he also had an old grudge with the Yu family. If he were to eliminate the patriarch of the Yu family, it would also remove a major enemy of the Lu family. Thank you for your help, senior. Chapter 378. One sword breaks 10,000 laws, the turmoil ends. _4. The elder of the Yu family, seeing Lu Changxing looking at him and sizing him up, immediately felt panic rise in his heart and spoke with horror and trepidation. His form of address changed from the originally used fellow Taoist to senior. After all, in such circumstances he truly dared not consider himself equal to Lu Changxing. Didn't you say that there would be a substantial gift for me afterwards if I took action? Now that I have eliminated 2 robber cultivators for your market, the substantial gift should be presented, right? Lu Changxing thought for a moment and dismissed the idea of slaying the patriarch of the Yu family. One reason was that killing him would lead to chaos in the market. Moreover, the 4 major families, aside from the Yu family that had 2 Foundation establishment great cultivators able to station one at the Red Leaf Valley Market, the other families didn't have any spare Foundation establishment cultivators. If he were to kill the Yu family elder in front of him, the patriarchs of the 4 major families would probably have to rotate to oversee the market, which would also affect the Lu family. Furthermore, with his current strength, he did not fear whatever the Yu family might do. When the time came to settle scores, whether they had this Yu family elder or not wouldn't make much of a difference to him. Yes, that's only natural, the patriarch of the Yu family said with a sigh of relief in his heart upon hearing Lu Changxing talk this way, and hurriedly added, knowing that the other party wouldn't act against him. But hearing Lu Changxing mention the substantial gift, he felt somewhat distressed and apprehensive. He didn't know how much of a substantial gift would be sufficient to satisfy the menacing figure before him. Senior, please wait a moment. I will prepare your gift right away, the Yu family elder said through gritted teeth. He knew that a heavy loss was inevitable. If worst came to worst, he could have the 4 major families chip in for this expense later on. You have a quarter of an hour. He'll give you 15 minutes. During this time, he'll keep an eye on the robber cultivators in the market for you, said Lu Changxing indifferently. Yes, thank you, senior, please wait a moment, Yu Yuanshan replied, not daring to delay. He immediately transformed into a streak of escape light and departed to return to his cave dwelling and shop to prepare the substantial gift. In the meantime, Lu Changxing had also moved to another location where he took out his spiritual pet bag and collected the carcass of the green wolf, a second-rank demon beast he had just slain. A demon beast's body was a treasure trove. It could be used not only in talisman making and alchemy, and for forging magic artifacts, but also its tendons and bones could serve as the main body for constructing beast-shaped puppets. Such a second-rank demon beast, even just selling its materials, could fetch several thousand spirit stones, and he naturally wouldn't waste it. Shiyu, you go back first. After finishing all this, Lu Changxing transmitted his divine sense to Xianxia, telling her to return to the cave dwelling to rest in peace. Immediately, he stood beneath the 7 luminaries' heart lamp with his arms crossed and patrolled above the marketplace. Whenever he detected the scent of blood or hidden robber cultivators, the 7 luminaries' heart lamp would shed strands of sword qi, bringing their lives to an end. In a short while, Lu Changxing had slain 8 robber cultivators, gaining a modest harvest. Senior, this is the gift prepared by our marketplace for you, a modest token of our regard. Please accept it. By this time the Yu family elder had returned, offering up 3 storage bags. Lu Changxing took the storage bags and glanced inside. The first storage bag contained spirit stones, approximately 10,000 of them. The second storage bag held various items such as talismans, elixir medicines and assorted spiritual materials. In the third storage bag, there were several glazed porcelain vases and embroidered boxes, which held relatively precious and rare elixir medicines and treasures. Lu Changxing estimated the total value to be about 30,000 spirit stones. The amount of spirit stones was not considered a lot. But for the financial situation of the Yu family, it was already a very sincere gesture. All right, I accept your gesture. Farewell. Lu Changxing nodded and without saying much more, transformed into a streak of light, arriving at the place where the burly man had fallen. He struck at the weakest point of the formation with a sword, creating a crack, then left the market and disappeared into the night. Phew. Seeing Lu Changxing depart, the elder Yu released a deep breath of relief. Although the presence of such a great cultivator made the market much safer, Lu Changxing's recent demonstration made him appear as a harbinger of death in the elder's eyes, someone he truly didn't dare get too close to. Afterward, he commanded the market enforcement team, "Now, everyone secure the market and start patrolling for robber cultivators and assessing the losses from just now." Chapter 379, The Shock of the 4 Patriarchs. _1. Lu Changxing left the Red Leaf Valley Market and upon seeing no one around, immediately disguised himself, concealing his magic aura entirely. He then took out a second-rank Qi Sealing Talisman and a Stealth Talisman from his storage bag and used them on himself. Of course he couldn't actually leave. Now that the disturbance in the marketplace had ended, Lu Miaoge, not having seen him, would surely be worried. Moreover, the 4 great families would definitely be inspecting the marketplace next. If he wasn't around, unnecessary trouble might arise. As expected, it hasn't recovered so quickly. Lu Changxing quickly returned to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Seeing the huge crack he had previously cut at the weak point of the market's great formation still there, he breathed a sigh of relief. He had deliberately made that slash before as a makeshift exit for himself to use upon returning. Within the crack, 2 energy refinement late-stage cultivators could be seen standing guard. But he, a Foundation Establishment great cultivator, had not only concealed his aura but also had a second-rank Qi Sealing Talisman and a Stealth Talisman, so naturally he wouldn't be noticed. Lu Changxing silently slipped back into the marketplace. Afterwards he found a secluded alley, tied up his loosened hair, changed back into his blue magical robe, and restored his handsome and imposing true appearance. Is this a failed Foundation Establishment attempt? Lu Changxing walked out of the alley and headed towards the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. Looking up at the sky, he saw the vortex of nature's spiritual energy above the core cave dwelling area slowly dissipating. This situation indicated a failed Foundation Establishment attempt. Indeed, with such a commotion just now at the marketplace and the great formation operating at full capacity, not only did it cause a disorder in nature's spiritual energy, but it also greatly affected the mindset of those attempting Foundation establishment. The transformation of spiritual liquid into mana, supporting the Tao Foundation, cannot tolerate distractions. A single mishap can lead to failure in Foundation establishment. With such a huge commotion in the marketplace just now, how could they not be affected? Lu Changxing shook his head. Knowing that the person had not taken a Foundation establishment elixir, now that Foundation establishment had failed, if they didn't die they still would be abolished. Even if they took a meridian protecting elixir to protect the meridians and dantian, reducing the risk of death, they still had to face the situation of damaged meridians in Dantian, with cultivation levels rolling back. If there was no great opportunity, it would be almost impossible for them to break through Foundation establishment again in this lifetime. It's said that this person has a 4th grade spiritual root and is only 49 years old. Among loose cultivators, they were in the prime of life. Now that Foundation establishment has failed and all savings are spent, even if they don't die, the rest of their life will be very difficult. Lu Changxing slightly shook his head, feeling somewhat emotional inside. Most loose cultivators trying to break through to Foundation establishment were not only risking their lives, they were also staking all their lifelong savings on it. Uncle Yuan Shan. At that moment, Lu Changxing saw several law enforcement cultivators coming towards him. The man leading them was a one-armed, dignified man with a weathered face. He was one of the core members of the Lu family, Lu Yuanshan. Although he had lost an arm, his energy refinement 9th level cultivation was still formidable. He was positioned in the Red Leaf Valley market by the Lu family to serve as the law enforcement leader. Changxing, what are you doing here? Upon seeing Lu Changxing, Lu Yuanshan gave him a few glances and then asked. Earlier, when the marketplace was in turmoil, after Miaoga and I checked our own talisman shop, I was about to go and see the situation at my own spiritual talisman shop. Just as I left, a fight broke out involving Foundation establishment cultivators, so I had to hide on the side, and only now do I dare to come out, Lu Changxing spoke. How could Miaoga let you go check the situation by yourself? Upon hearing this, Lu Yuanshan frowned and said. The recent situation was very dangerous in his view. As the leading talisman path expert of the Lu family with only 7th level energy refinement cultivation, how could Lu Miaoga let Lu Changxing wander around under such circumstances? Any mishap would be a tremendous loss for their Lu family. In his view, it was simply too reckless. It was an emergency at that time, and besides, I had talismans with me. As long as I didn't encounter any Foundation establishment cultivators, there basically wouldn't be any problems, Lu Changxing said somewhat sheepishly. The Lu family might not reprimand him. But chances are they might still address the matter with Lu Miaoga afterwards. Although it's safe now, there might still be robber cultivators hidden in the shadows. Come with me and I'll escort you back first, Lu Yuanshan continued. He didn't doubt or check on Lu Changxing. After all, they were family and he knew him through and through. Furthermore, with Lu Changxing's appearance and demeanor, he didn't believe that he could be someone else in disguise. Thank you, Uncle Yuanshan, Lu Changxing nodded. Then Lu Yuanshan, accompanied by a few law enforcement cultivators, escorted Lu Changxing back to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. Changxing, Uncle Yuanshan, Lu Miaoga was at the first floor of the talisman shop waiting. Seeing them approaching, she immediately opened the formation. Miaoga, how could you let Changxing check the situation by himself? You saw the commotion in the marketplace just now. What if he had an accident with a robber cultivator? Lu Yuanshan said with a stern voice upon seeing Lu Miaoga. The tone in his voice carried a note of reprimand. Though Lu Miaoga was an energy refinement 9th level cultivator and a talisman master herself, she was nonetheless the junior he had watched grow up, so such a reprimand was within reason. Uncle Yuanshan, it's my fault too. Sister Miaoga told me not to go, but I thought with talismans at my side, there would be no issues. Lu Changxing, expecting Lu Yuanshan to admonish Lu Miaoga after the fact, was surprised when Lu Yuanshan began to reproach her upon meeting. Knowing Lu Yuanshan's concerns were well intended, he immediately spoke up to smooth things over, taking some of the blame. Alright, I won't say more. You two stay put in the shop tonight, and if there's trouble, send me a message. Lu Yuanshan's expression remained austere as he spoke, gesturing with his hand and proceeded with his patrol. Yes, Uncle Yuanshan. Uncle Yuanshan, please take care. Chapter 380, The Shock of the Four Patriarchs. Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoga nodded. Changxing, are you alright? Lu Miaoga looked at Lu Changxing, her beautiful eyes filled with concern. She thought that Lu Yuanshan had brought Lu Changxing back because he had encountered some danger. I'm fine, I just ran into Uncle Yuanshan on the way. He saw I was alone and worried for my safety, so he offered to escort me back. Lu Changxing gently shook his head, offering a wry smile. Uncle Yuanshan is always stern and rarely smiles, but he means well, Lu Miaoga spoke out. She had a great deal of respect for Lu Yuanshan. If it weren't for Lu Yuanshan bringing back the main ingredient for the Foundation establishment elixir from the Purple Shadow secret realm, Lu Yuanzhong might not have succeeded in his foundation establishment. One could say that Lu Yuanshan had indirectly saved Qingzhou Mountain. I know. Lu Changxing nodded his head. He had had several encounters with Lu Yuanshan and knew of the man's character, which was actually quite decent. Changxing, did you see the foundation establishment battle just now? After sitting down, Lu Miaoge and Lu Changxing started to chat casually. She had just seen the images of Lu Changxing fighting the two robber cultivators at the spiritual talisman shop. Though the view wasn't very clear, she was able to get a general idea. Of course I saw it. I was actually quite close to the location at the time. I never imagined there would be such a formidable sword cultivator living right here in the marketplace. Lu Changxing clicked his tongue in admiration. Indeed, two foundation establishment robber cultivators and a second-ranked demon beast. If it weren't for that sword cultivator, the marketplace would have been in danger. I've heard that although sword cultivators are unmatched in combat, they are only invincible among their peers. This sword cultivator, slaying a second-ranked demon beast with a single stroke and cutting down two foundation establishment robber cultivators by himself, must be no ordinary sword cultivator. I wonder if he could be from the Heavenly Sword Sect, Lu Miaoge said somewhat wistfully. The Heavenly Sword Sect is the largest immortal sect in Jianghu country. All the cultivators from this sect are sword cultivators. So generally, when people mention powerful sword cultivators, most would think of the Heavenly Sword Sect. It's possible, although the Heavenly Sword Sect is quite far from here. It could also be a loose cultivator wandering through the mortal world. Don't the stories often write about sword immortals who travel the world, slaying demons and exorcising evil? Lu Changxing said with a laugh. After chatting for a while, Lu Changxing turned to Lu Miaoge and asked, Sister Miaoge, do you want to become a sword cultivator? He knew that the cultivation technique Lu Miaoge was practicing was called profound water art, which is a high-grade cultivation technique. The magic barrier during the foundation establishment of a cultivator is related to the cultivator's technique. The more formidable the cultivation technique, the more robust the mana, making this barrier easier to breach and the transformation of spiritual power into mana simpler. While a high-grade cultivation technique won't hold one back, it doesn't provide much assistance either. Now that he had successfully established his foundation and possessed some strength, he didn't mind passing on the Saturn Solar Sword technique, from the Seven Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture, to Lu Miaoge. The Saturn Solar Sword technique, though just an exquisite level cultivation method, being a lineage of the orthodox level, Seven Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture, is considered one of the top methods among the exquisite level. It offers some help during the magic barrier of foundation establishment. Moreover, as Lu Miaoge's profound water art would need a follow-up technique after reaching the foundation establishment stage, adopting this Saturn Solar Sword technique now would mean she wouldn't have to worry about subsequent techniques. While sword cultivators are formidable, I am not fond of conflicts, so I haven't really considered becoming a sword cultivator, Lu Miaoge said gently, her demeanor as calm as water. Although sword cultivators possess overwhelming combat strength and excel in offense, certain qualities and a specific style are required. They demand a resolute and unwavering spirit. If one's temperament is weak, even with the practice of sword techniques, their combat effectiveness will be mediocre at best. Sister Miaoge, you probably noticed that the cultivation technique I practice isn't greenwood art. Actually, I acquired a sword technique in a fortuitous secret realm, and what I've been cultivating is that sword technique. Lu Changxing continued to talk to Lu Miaoge. The combat power he demonstrated previously, instantly subduing several robber cultivators, was clearly beyond what one would expect from practicing greenwood art. Greenwood art is more geared towards health and vitality, with average combat capabilities. A sword technique? Lu Miaoge was a bit surprised but felt it made sense. After all, the combat strength Lu Changxing had exhibited was quite extraordinary, beyond that of ordinary people. Her stunning face smiled warmly as she said, I never imagined my husband would also be a sword cultivator. Changxing, your decisive manner along the way showed hints of a sword immortal's grace. Maybe in the future you could be like that sword cultivator just now. Lu Miaoge's eyes were filled with love, admiration, and doting as she spoke, her gaze stirring the heart. This sword technique belongs to the exquisite level. If you need it, Sister Miaoge, I can pass it on to you. Cultivating this technique could help you when you attempt foundation establishment later on, Lu Changxing said with a smile. While it's true that sword cultivators have specific temperamental styles, it's not to say one couldn't cultivate them if they don't fit perfectly. It's just a matter of how potent it will be. Cultivating the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, even if not quite suited, would still be better than ordinary high-grade cultivation techniques. An exquisite level cultivation method. Lu Miaoge gasped, visibly surprised. She was well aware of the preciousness of an exquisite level cultivation method. At Jianghu Mountain, they only possessed a few high-grade cultivation techniques. Even these few techniques had cost the Lu family a great deal and much effort to obtain. After all, in the cultivation world, very few are willing to externalize and divulge their family's techniques. Now that Lu Changxing was casually offering to pass on an exquisite level cultivation method to her, she felt moved. Sadly, after looking through that technique just once, the inheriting jade slip self-destructed. Chapter 381, The Shock of the Four Patriarchs. So I'll come to teach you myself later. Lu Changxing didn't wait for Lu Miaoge to reply and continued speaking. He didn't carry any jade slips or jade scrolls containing sword technique cultivation techniques on his person. Ordinary cultivation techniques and spells are quite easy to copy and replicate. But high-grade cultivation techniques and spells are not so easily copied. Not only must one have an expert grasp of the cultivation techniques, one must also expend the writer's own vital energies to inscribe them onto a technique jade slip. And normally, who would carry a copy of the cultivation techniques they're practicing on their person? Changxing, why are you so good to me? Lu Miaoge looked up at the Lu Changxing before her, her beautiful eyes full of tenderness as she softly spoke. You're my wife. If I'm not good to you, to whom should I be? Lu Changxing looked at his wife and laughed with a smile. Thank you, Changxing. Lu Miaoge's eyes glistened and she smiled tenderly. We are husband and wife, one entity, there's no need for thanks. Lu Changxing waved his hand and said, Lu Miaoge gently hummed in affirmation and then quietly snuggled into her husband's arms. Time passed by slowly. At this moment, Lu Yuanzhong, the Bai family ancestor, the patriarch of Zheng family, and patriarch Yu Jinyang of the Yu family had all hurriedly arrived at Red Leaf Valley Market. The commotion earlier caused Yu Yuanshan to send the highest level of emergency message. Faced with such a message, the ancestors of the 4 major families did not dare delay. They ordered their families to activate their defensive formations and quickly came over. Yuanshan, what's the situation here? Patriarch Yu Jinyang asked aloud. This patriarch of the Yu family had a full head of white hair, but not a single wrinkle or age spot on his face, his skin as clear and glossy as a baby's, perfectly exemplifying the phrase old in years, youthful in looks. As Patriarch Yu Jinyang spoke, Lu Yuanzhong, the Bai family ancestor, and the patriarch of the Zheng family all turned to Yu Yuanshan, wanting to know the specifics of what had happened in the market. Although they arrived one after another, Yu Yuanshan indicated that the situation in the market had stabilized, so he waited for everyone to gather before explaining. Patriarch, fellow Taoists. Upon hearing Patriarch Yu Jinyang's words, Yu Yuanshan immediately recounted what had happened in the market earlier. What? 2 Foundation Establishment robber cultivators. An extraordinary sword cultivator, who slew a second-rank demon beast with a single sword strike. And this sword cultivator killed both robber cultivators. Upon hearing this, the 4 of them exchanged astonished glances, their faces revealing shock and disbelief. After all, these were Foundation Establishment great cultivators. Beings on the same level as them. And now Yu Yuanshan was telling them that tonight, 2 Foundation Establishment robber cultivators had raided the market. Then, suddenly, an extraordinary sword cultivator appeared and slew both robber cultivators. If not for the current state of the market's great formation being weakened, allowing them to see that the market had gone through a disturbance and knowing that Yu Yuanshan wouldn't lie to them, they would have thought they were listening to a radio drama. How could our market have such a sword cultivator? Indeed, all the Foundation Establishment cultivators who were invited to the auction left after it ended. The patriarch of the Zheng family and Bai family ancestor spoke up. This is what I recorded on the shadow retention stone. Without saying much more, Yu Yuanshan took out a fist-sized black stone. The shadow retention stone is a magic artifact refined by artifact refiners. It can record a period of images and sounds. Depending on the grade, the clarity of the images and duration vary. Its uses are wide-ranging. Many cultivators use shadow retention stones to leave their last words before they pass away. Or when selling cultivation techniques or instructing juniors, they might record their insights onto a shadow retention stone, which is often much more vivid than text alone. It can also be used for recording various scenes in daily life. The Jade Scroll of the returning origin technique that Lu Changxing cultivated initially also had a shadow retention effect. As mana was infused into the shadow retention stone, a segment of images began to emerge. It was the scene where Lu Changxing slew the second-rank demon beast and confronted the pair of robber cultivators. Hiss, such a domineering sword stance. That's a true sword cultivator. Could this person be a disciple of the Heavenly Sword sect? That's not an impossibility. But for what reason would a disciple of the Heavenly Sword sect come to our Red Leaf Valley market? The ancestors of the 4 major families, upon watching the images on the shadow retention stone, were struck with unparalleled shock in their hearts. Although the shadow retention stone could not record the aura or presence, they could still sense an unstoppable, sword-breaking all laws, unmatched aura from Lu Changxing through the images. Patriarch Eugene Yang, upon observing the attire and methods of the 2 robber cultivators on the shadow retention stone, frowned slightly, falling into contemplation. But upon seeing the 2 robber cultivators being killed and their bodies taken away, a hint of disappointment flashed in his eyes. Patriarch, what's the matter? Yu Yuanshan, seeing his patriarch's expression, inquired. Chapter 382, The Shock of the 4 Patriarchs. For otherwise, how could there have been such a coincidence? Although stories of eminent figures hiding in the market were common, after all, they were just stories and rare ones. Yuan Shan, you just said that you presented a gift to that sword cultivator. How much was it worth in spirit stones? At this moment, Patriarch Eugene Yang turned to Ancestor Yu and spoke. Upon hearing these words, Lu Yuanzhong by family ancestor and Jing family ancestor all felt a pang in their hearts. Ancestor, a total of 30,000 spirit stones. Given the situation at the time, how could I dare to give less? Thus, I brought out all the spirit stones I could, along with all the stock from the store. Yu Yuanshan said with a bitter smile. He then looked at the 3 family ancestors. Regarding the gift, I can provide a detailed list and swear on my heart demon that there has been absolutely no deceit. 30,000 spirit stones was not a small amount. He merely intended for it to be split equally among the 4 families. He wouldn't risk making enemies of the 3 families for the sake of extorting spirit stones. Fellow Taoists, as our 4 families jointly manage the marketplace, this matter of the spirit stones surely shouldn't fall on my Yu family alone, should it? Patriarch Eugene Yang looked at the 3 family ancestors and made himself heard. His tone carried an almost undeniable assertiveness. That's only right. We can share the cost of these spirit stones across our 4 families. Upon hearing this, Zheng family ancestor immediately voiced his agreement. However, his face betrayed a look of pain. Although splitting 30,000 spirit stones would mean only 7,500 per family. Even 7,500 spirit stones wasn't a small sum. While family income was higher than that of ordinary loose cultivators, so too were expenses greater. Patriarch Eugene Yang, the robber cultivator's raid on the marketplace is likely greatly related to loose cultivator Zhao Feng's pursuit of foundation establishment. Initially, it was your Yu family who overruled all objections, allowing this Zhao Feng to attempt foundation establishment within the marketplace. Had that not been the case, perhaps there would have been no incident tonight. Lu Yuanzhong spoke up. He believed that Yu Yuanshan wouldn't resort to extorting spirit stones in this matter. But tonight, not only was the marketplace impacted, their family's stores and businesses also suffered losses. And now, to take out such a large sum of spirit stones, naturally he was reluctant. Indeed, it was your Yu family's decision to allow Zhao Feng to undertake his foundation establishment within the marketplace, which led to the troubles we face tonight. Tonight, our families have already suffered great losses. Later, we will also need to soothe and compensate the merchants who set up shop here. I believe it is not proper to share this expense of the spirit stones now. I think that the Yu family should bear the brunt of the cost of these spirit stones as well as the compensation for the merchants. My family ancestor also spoke. The raid on the marketplace tonight might not necessarily have been due to the foundation establishment attempt. So many robber cultivators, they obviously came prepared. Yu Yuanshan said, expressing his opinion. Immediately, a debate began between the 2 sides. Confronted with this situation, Zheng family ancestor chose to remain silent. If possible, he naturally also didn't want to share the cost of these spirit stones. Only, his Zheng family was not in a good situation and was thinking of appeasing the Yu family. The matter of Zhao Feng was indeed proposed by me, but also agreed upon by all of you. Therefore, it's impossible for my Yu family to bear the full cost of the spirit stones and compensation. Let's do this. My Yu family will cover 50% of these 30,000 spirit stones, and the remaining 50% will be shared among your 3 families. As for the losses in the marketplace and the merchant settlements, we will discuss that when we have a detailed list. How about that? At this point, Patriarch Yu Jinyang spoke in a deep tone. I have no objections. Zheng family ancestor immediately said. If the 3 families were to share 50%, it would mean 5,000 spirit stones per family. That was over 2,000 less per family, a significant saving. Agreed. Lu Yuanzhong and Bai family ancestor exchanged glances, nodded their heads, and decided to take the offer while it was good. After all, with the current situation, it was already not bad for the Yu family to be willing to make a concession. After the negotiation concluded, Lu Yuanzhong, Bai family ancestor, and Zheng family ancestor left to check on their respective family stores and personnel. Meanwhile, Yu Yuanshan was somewhat unwilling to accept the outcome as he looked at his own ancestor. Ancestor, why should we make such concessions? Even if we didn't, what could Lu Yuanzhong Bai Tongyun possibly say? Yu Yuanshan spoke out. In his view, as long as their family didn't give in or make concessions, the Lu family and Bai family would have to accept the expenses of the spirit stones. After all, this concession meant an extra expenditure of 7,500 spirit stones. Their Yu family had already emptied their coffers last year to purchase the Foundation establishment elixir and had been living frugally ever since. This significant expenditure was like adding frost to snow for an already not wealthy family. At present, there is no need for our 4 families to create an unnecessary rift over these spirit stones. Old Ghost Zheng may be active in his stance, but he is also reluctant to part with these spirit stones. Hence, it is not an issue to step back. Now that Ninghu has successfully established his foundation, our Yu family has 3 foundation establishment cultivators. If we slowly accumulate our strength, they will have to spit back everything they have swallowed sooner or later. Patriarch Yu Jinyang waved his hand and said firmly. Chapter 383, 3-Colored Spiritual Earth by Ling's Talent, An Unexpected Lottery. _1 Before one's eyes, 7 days had passed. During this time, the marketplace remained in a state of lockdown and alert, inspecting for robber cultivators. Lu Changxing learned from the Lu family that the outward losses of the marketplace were not severe and were within an acceptable range. The main issue was the series of adverse effects brought about by the incident. To minimize the impact and recover popularity and reputation, the 4 major families made certain compensations for the losses suffered by the businesses settled in the market. And they issued a series of preferential and welfare policies. Taking all these aspects into account, it amounted to a huge loss. Even so, the flow of visitors to the Red Leaf Valley market would still see a significant decline. The fame and reputation built up by the previous auction would be rendered futile by this incident. Tiske, it's indeed not easy to run a marketplace. A slight incident can lead to a loss. Lu Changxing couldn't help but lament after learning of these developments. He was well aware that over the years, the 4 major families hadn't made much money from the Red Leaf Valley market. The primary income had been from the initial sales of land. But with this incident, not only had many spirit stones been spent, but the marketplace, which had just gotten on the right track, had taken a severe fall. It would take several years, perhaps even over a decade of management, to regain popularity and get back on track. It seems that the Red Leaf Valley market won't change much in the short term. Speaking of which, if I were to reveal my strength and talk with the 4 major families, I might be able to take over the Red Leaf Valley market directly as my family spirit land. A sudden thought crossed Lu Changxing's mind. Through the previous battle, he had clearly realized that his current strength had already far surpassed that of the patriarchs of the 4 major families. It would be incredibly easy to take a spirit land by force with his might. However, he would not engage in such reputation-damaging actions of forcefully seizing other spirit lands without good reason. But the Red Leaf Valley market, the Lu family held a 40% control. If he were to reveal his strength and cooperate with the Lu family, it would be entirely possible to take ownership of Red Leaf Valley using both carrot and stick approaches. Initially, the Lu family and the Bai family did not have the intention to establish the Red Leaf Valley into a marketplace. It was only after the Yu family and the Zheng family joined that the decision was made to maximize benefits by establishing the Red Leaf Valley into a marketplace. He was preparing to go to Xianxia's cave dwelling to tally up his gains, and to deal with the body of the second-rank demon beast. After all, the storage bag did not have a fresh-keeping function. If not stored in a special container, it could cause problems over time. Changxing. When Xianxia received Lu Changsheng's message, she immediately opened the restrictions of her cave dwelling. Because there had been patrols in the marketplace these past few days, she had been disguised. However, the main inspections in the marketplace were focused on the loose cultivators' residential area and the commercial district. The cave-dwelling area was only briefly questioned, as those who resided there were either people from the 4 major families or from other cultivation families. Shiyu, Lu Changxing entered the cave-dwelling. After the two of them entered the cave-dwelling, they also reverted to their true appearances. It always felt somewhat strange to look at each other in disguised forms. Lu Lang, your heroic and dashing figure that night truly amazed Shiyu and is unforgettable. Without dwelling on it too much, after Xianxia woke up, he told her and then took out the corpses of 2 robber cultivators and the storage bags he had harvested, and began to clean them up. In addition to the storage magic artifacts of the 2 robber cultivators, and the several storage bags, there were the 3 storage bags given by the patriarch of the Yu family, and from killing robber cultivators, he had harvested more than 10 storage bags. Just these storage bags alone amounted to a significant sum of spirit stones. Indeed, robber cultivators are treasures all over. Lu Changxing pulled several magic artifacts off the 2 people. Like Foundation establishment cultivators, they usually wear magical robes, magic boots, and have a few protective magic artifacts on them. Looking at the burly man's fierce and resentful face, Lu Changxing touched his face a little bit with his hand. Then mana surged in his palm and he tore forcefully. Rip! A mask as thin as a cicada's wings appeared. This mask is quite nice. It should be a spiritual artifact or some sort of disguise item that leaves no trace of transformation even when its owner has died, Lu Changxing commented with a click of his tongue while observing the mask in his hand. Being a robber cultivator and having a disguise was quite normal. But had he not inspected them routinely, he wouldn't have noticed any traces of disguise. Changxing, I think I've seen this man on the sex wanted list. He seems to be a wanted fugitive, said Xianxia, frowning slightly as she looked at the burly man's true face and spoke. A wanted fugitive? Lu Changxing raised his eyebrows upon hearing this. In the cultivation world where the law of the jungle prevails, there are no rules. However, the major immortal sects still maintain order. If someone causes trouble and offends the major immortal sects, they would be labeled as heretic cultivators and be wanted by the immortal sects. If I remember correctly, this couple should be the malevolent duo heretic cultivators wanted by the Heavenly Sword sect because they killed disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect, Xianxia said. The wanted lists from the major immortal sects are all shared with each other. When Xianxia left the Qingyun sect, they also asked her to remember these wanted criminals. Not to have their disciples chase down the fugitives, but to deal with them if encountered to uphold the majesty of the sect. If they couldn't handle it, it would also inform them of the strong capabilities of their opponents, enabling them to avoid danger by staying far away. Oh, wanted by the Heavenly Sword sect, is there a bounty? Asked Lu Changxing, smiling as he inquired. If a person was wanted by an immortal sect, there usually was quite an attractive bounty. Naturally, there's a bounty, but Shiyu doesn't remember the specifics, Xianxia said with a gentle shake of her head. She had only glanced at the wanted list at the time, just to get a general idea. Upon seeing the true face of the burly man, based on the couple's strength and their disguises, she recognized them. In that case, I'll just hold on to it for now. If there's an opportunity in the future, I'll go and claim that bounty, Lu Changxing decided after some thought. He had been planning to feed the corpses to the 6-winged golden silkworm. Now that there was mention of a bounty, he naturally wasn't going to waste it. He planned to make a trip whenever he had the spare time. Such robber cultivators wanted by the Heavenly Sword sect can collect their bounties in any large marketplace under the jurisdiction of the Heavenly Sword sect, said Xianxia. However, if Lu Lang wants to quickly receive the bounty, he'll have to go to the Heavenly Sword sect or the Jiuxiao Immortal City, she added. Xianxia spoke up. Chapter 385, Three-Colored Spiritual Earth by Ling's Talent, An Unexpected Lottery. Right, Xiu, when claiming a bounty, do they need to verify identity information or anything? Lu Changxing nodded and continued to ask. Usually not. There are many bounty hunters in the cultivation world, and they make their living by capturing heretic cultivators with bounties on their heads. They prefer to keep their identities secret. Therefore, the major immortal sects don't require identity verification as long as you have the head or a token of the deceased. They generally want to investigate your identity. Xianxia shook her head and explained. Got it? Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing felt reassured. If identity verification were required, he would have simply given up on the bounty and not bothered with it. Suddenly, Lu Changxing began to collect the two corpses again. He planned to buy some equipment later to store the two bodies. Otherwise, by the time he went to collect the bounty, the bodies would be rotten. What's this? Lu Changxing started to clean out the storage bag. From the burly man's storage bag, he took out a few items that looked particularly cherished to inspect, and among them was a jar of tricolor patchy soil. The soil was not only filled with spiritual energy but also gave off a faint fragrance. This should be tricolor spiritual earth, a pretty good foundation establishment spiritual object. If consumed during foundation establishment by those cultivating earth attribute techniques, it can help with the magical barriers during the 3 stages of foundation establishment. It can also be used as medicinal mud for planting spiritual medicines and spirit plants, producing an accelerating effect on their growth. Standing to the side, Xianxia looked at the jar of tricolored soil and spoke out. Tricolor spiritual earth, foundation establishment spiritual object? Initially, Lu Changxing thought that foundation establishment spiritual objects were average. However, when he heard about the medicinal mud and its accelerating effects on growth, his eyes immediately lit up. After obtaining the golden armor bean mother, he had looked into methods to accelerate its maturity and growth. After all, the growth of the golden armor bean mother was excruciatingly slow. 3 years to sprout, 3 years to grow leaves, 3 years to bloom, 3 years to bear fruit, a full 12-year cycle. However, upon inquiry, he found that medicinal mud and soil capable of accelerating growth are very rare and precious. Unless it's an extremely rare spiritual medicine that's difficult to cultivate, it would be better to plant in spirit-rich spiritual earth and have a specialized spirit plant cultivator tend to it carefully. Unexpectedly, today without any effort, he had come across such spiritual objects. If an energy refining cultivator consumes it, it will only backfire, damaging the body and unsettling the mental spirit. Lu Changxing shook his head and said. If his child were able to consume it now, he naturally would be willing to give it to the child to eat. But alas, his child was still too young and couldn't consume it. Lu Changxing walked out of the study and entered the practice room. He was ready to see the effects of the Purple Mansion elixir. As expected of a third-rank elixir, it looks extraordinary, Lu Changxing said as he poured out a Purple Mansion elixir into his palm, admiring it. The elixir was the size of a longan fruit, radiating a flowing light, with colorful purple mists swirling around it, emanating a rich medicinal fragrance that invigorated the spirit when inhaled. After swallowing the elixir, Lu Changxing immediately felt as if his entire body was ignited, his blood boiling, spirit soul scorching hot, almost transforming into a ball of firelight. 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, Purple Mansion Nourishing Spirit Technique. Lu Changxing immediately closed his eyes and sat cross-legged, circulating the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art and the Purple Mansion Nourishing Spirit Technique to refine this powerful medicinal strength. Boom, boom, boom. His entire body was crystalline, shining with the luster of precious light, his blood roiling, surging and pounding within his body. Meanwhile, his mind, spirit, soul was like a ball of firelight, being scorched continuously, making him feel dizzy and his brain in chaos. Not knowing how long had passed, Lu Changxing felt that the medicinal strength within his body had almost been refined. Phew. He opened his eyes and exhaled lightly. He felt clear-headed and bright-eyed, full of vitality and strength throughout his body. The Purple Mansion elixir is indeed worthy of being a third-rank elixir, with quite fierce medicinal power. If it weren't for my cultivation of the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art and the Purple Mansion Nourishing Spirit Technique, it wouldn't have been easy to assimilate the power of this elixir, Lu Changxing muttered to himself, then proceeded to check his divine sense. He discovered that his divine sense had grown from the original 18 zhang, approximately 54 meters, to almost 33 zhang, approximately 99 meters. Almost a doubling in size. Based on what he knew, the divine sense of an average Foundation Establishment middle stage cultivator was around 50 zhang, approximately 150 meters. Yet now, with just one elixir, he had already gained around 15 zhang, approximately 45 meters. This effect, this improvement, is simply astounding. If I were to consume and refine all 10 Purple Mansion elixirs, my divine sense could probably be comparable to that of the Foundation Establishment late stage, Lu Changxing said excitedly. Chapter 388, Breakthrough. Breakthrough. Condensing the 9 treasure jade rui. Even ordinary walls were almost transparent to his vision. Enhancing divine sense really does have many advantages. Not only for cultivation but also for battles and many other aspects. Lu Changxing thought to himself. He knew there were many more wonders to divine sense. For example, with a stronger divine sense than others, one could easily see through their disguises and gauge their cultivation levels. After chatting with his wives and concubines, he realized he had only been in seclusion for 3 days. It hadn't been long at all. After having a meal with his wives, concubines and children, Lu Changxing announced his intention and began another period of secluded cultivation. He was prepared to consume all 9 remaining Purple Mansion elixirs in one go. 1 month later. Inside the practice room. Boom! Lu Changxing was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, his body emanating a hazy treasured light that bestowed upon him an aura of majesty and sanctity. At this moment, his physical body was undergoing a transformation, breaking through to the 4th level of the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art. The surging blood qi within his body was constantly flowing, cleansing every inch of his flesh and skin. The commotion grew louder and louder, like a volcanic eruption or the roaring of rivers, and it resembled the sonorous clang of metal on metal. Boom! After who knows how long, a sharp clang resounded within Lu Changxing's body. He seemed to break free from shackles as a light unfurled and shone through mountains and rivers. A brilliant, dazzling radiance emanated from within him. Huff! 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, 4th level. The eyes of the seated Lu Changxing suddenly snapped open, glowing with a golden treasured light. He stood up, stretching his muscles and bones, producing a crackling sound throughout his body. He quietly felt the changes in his body after the breakthrough. He just felt an inexhaustible strength filling his entire body. With the 4th level of the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, my physical body is comparable to top-grade magic artifacts. Now facing ordinary energy refining cultivators, I can boldly try to catch magic artifacts with my bare hands. Lu Changxing looked at his palms, which were like jade. They were still as white and delicate as ever, yet they exuded an unbreakable quality. Clang clang clang. He clenched his fists and collided them lightly, immediately producing a sound like the clash of metal. When he collided them with a bit more force. Bang! A loud sonic boom echoed in the practice room. But sometimes having too good of a physique isn't a good thing either. Lu Changxing thought to himself. His wives, concubines, and maids were all mortals and energy-refining cultivators. In comparison to him now, they seemed somewhat fragile, necessitating control of the impact force. My divine sense has finally reached 150 zhang. 4 ordinary cultivators just after breaking through to the Foundation Establishment stage, divine sense is about 10 zhang, in the middle stage around 50 zhang, and in the late stage 150 zhang. Tisk. 10 Purple Mansion elixirs not only allowed my 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art to break through to the 4th level, but also advanced my divine sense to 150 zhang, comparable to the late Foundation Establishment stage. Indeed, popping pills is the true path. Reliance on sheer personal effort in cultivation, unless one has a heavenly spiritual root or an earth spirit root, would mean this would be as far as one gets in a lifetime. Lu Changxing sighed. According to the progress in his 100 refinements treasure body art, it would have taken about 3 more years to reach the 4th level. This 3-year estimate was already accounting for the assistance of a middle-grade magic artifact and its prototype. If he were to cultivate at a normal pace, it would take 20 to 30 years. However, 10 purple mansion elixirs saved him from such arduous cultivation. As for the divine sense, the effects were even more extraordinary and stunning. If he were to cultivate step by step on his own, it would likely take 60 to 70 years to reach this level of divine sense. Now that I have divine sense at the late stage of foundation establishment, I can also start studying this divine consciousness secret technique. At this point, Lu Changxing took out a technique jade slip from his storage bag. It was the Red Phoenix True Scripture that he had obtained from the young man in the red robe. Initially he had only glanced at this technique. It was a technique that veered towards the heretical path. The only thing that impressed him was the divine consciousness secret technique named Soul Dispersion Needle in the Red Phoenix True Scripture. It allowed one to condense divine sense into a soul dispersion needle to launch a divine sense attack against enemies. Back then, both he and Xianxia suffered from the soul dispersion needle used by the young man in the red robe. Had it not been for his peach blossom goo guarding his sea of consciousness, the situation would have been dangerous. Now that he possessed divine sense comparable to someone in the late foundation establishment stage, he naturally planned to cultivate this secret technique. In future battles, it would serve as an unexpected and preemptive strike. Reading the cultivation method for soul dispersion needle, its condensation method and its application, Lu Changxing spent an hour to understand the principles and steps, and then began to try cultivating it. He sat cross-legged with closed eyes, introspecting his sea of consciousness. Upon hearing these words, Lu Changxing's mouth twitched slightly. He didn't see how his son had become more handsome. His son grew up in Jianghu Valley, consuming spirit rice and spiritual meals daily, and began taking elixir medicines to fortify his foundation and nurture his primary qi since the age of 6, virtually stepping 1 foot into cultivation. So there was no significant change when drawing qi into his body. Congratulations, brother. Congratulations on stepping onto the path of cultivation, brother. The few children beside him revealed looks of envy and voiced their congratulations. Well done. This is your reward from Dad. When you reach the 3rd level energy refinement, you'll be able to control a flying sword. Lu Changxing took a flying sword from his storage bag and handed it to his son. He had gathered a pile of magic artifacts from slaying a robber cultivator in Red Leaf Valley. These artifacts, which he found inconvenient to handle in the Red Leaf Valley market, he had kept with him. Thinking it over, he was too lazy to deal with them anymore. He decided to use them as rewards for his children. After all, these artifacts had no markings and were not forged by any artifact refining master, so they wouldn't be recognized as stolen goods. Thank you, Dad. Lu Quanzhen's eyes lit up at the sight of the flying sword, and his face was full of joy. As a cultivator who didn't dream of possessing their own flying sword. Previously, when Lu Changxing rewarded a flying sword to Lu Xianxia, it made all his siblings envious. Chuanzhen, you must work hard in the future. Chu Zhenzhen watched the scene happily, patted her son's head encouragingly. Mom, rest assured. Lu Chuanzhen nodded firmly. After seeing that his son Lu Chuanzhen had completed drawing qi into his body, Lu Changxing stayed a few more days before returning to Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Miaoga had already begun switching her cultivation of the profound water art to the Saturn solar sword technique. But changing cultivation techniques was no small endeavor. Originally, when Lu Changxing was at 7th level energy refinement and cultivating the non-attribute returning origin technique, it took him 4 months to switch techniques. Although Lu Miaoga's 2 cultivation techniques were both water attribute, switching between them was actually less efficient than for a non-attribute technique like the returning origin technique. With her 9th level energy refinement cultivation, it was estimated she would need about half a year to complete the switch. Half a year later, inside the practice room on Jianghu Mountain. I finally completed the refinement of this 9 treasure jade ruby. Lu Changxing looked at the exquisite and smooth 9 treasure jade ruby before him, which seemed divinely crafted, and joy appeared on his face. Chapter 390, Breakthrough. Breakthrough. Condensing the 9 treasure jade rui. _4 As the cultivation technique circulated, a treasure light flowed around his chest, and the imprint of the black dragon magical bead gradually surfaced, becoming clearly visible. The treasure light flowed, dazzling and splendid. Flesh crawled as the black dragon magical bead slowly emerged from his chest. This process was exceedingly slow and also extremely painful. After a long time, Lu Changxing finally extracted the black dragon magical bead from his breastbone. Huff puff puff, Lu Changxing rubbed his breastbone, gasping for breath and feeling somewhat fatigued. At this moment, the black dragon magical bead's dark light was dimmed. Inside, the miniature flood dragon was even more listless on its last breath. Naturally, Lu Changxing knew that this black dragon magical bead, which had accompanied him for 10 years, had its origin source depleted by half. The once middle-grade magical treasure now couldn't even be counted as a lower-grade one. It was only a half-ruined magical treasure. If he continued to use it for cultivating the 100 refinements treasure body art, he estimated that in another decade, once the 100 refinements treasure body art was cultivated to the 5th layer, this black dragon magical bead would be completely spent. Merely 10 years have let me cultivate the 100 refinements treasure body art from the 1st layer to now. It was worth it. Lu Changxing looked at the black dragon magical bead in his hand and let out a light breath. He didn't feel any heartache. In his view, this black dragon magical bead had allowed him to cultivate the 100 refinements treasure body art to this level in just 10 years, which was quite acceptable. After all, since the magical treasure was integrated into his body, he hadn't spent any time cultivating this technique. It had been entirely automatic. During this period, it had also been used to nurture his treasure bones. Under such circumstances he could accept a higher cost. He took an elixir medicine and began to circulate his cultivation to recover his state. Just now, extracting the black dragon magical bead had also taken a significant toll on him. What followed, the integration of the 9 treasure jade rui, was also a major undertaking. He had to maintain his peak condition. One day later, Lu Changxing, fully restored and energized, began to integrate the 9 treasure jade rui into his body. It took him a full 3 days to successfully integrate the 9 treasure jade rui into his body, causing a 9-colored rui pattern to appear on his chest. The instant he completed the integration, Lu Changxing immediately felt an immense force surge from his chest, refining his flesh, blood vessels, and bones. This effect was completely 2 or 3 times that of the black dragon magical bead. I also cultivate this technique so I can easily sense it, Lu Changxing said with a light laugh. He continued to inquire, Sister Miaoga, how much did your cultivation level get affected by completing the technique transition? Generally, transitioning to a new cultivation technique incurs some loss. This technique and the previously cultivated Xianxia are both water attribute cultivation techniques, so the loss wasn't much, roughly 20%, she said. Although 20% was lost, I can feel my spiritual power is 20% more profound, Lu Miaoga said excitedly, her beautiful eyes shimmering. She could clearly sense the sophistication and power of this Saturn solar sword technique. That's good, Lu Changxing nodded, thinking the loss was manageable. After all, compared to the foundation increase, this slight setback in cultivation wasn't significant. It could be recovered with a bit more time and effort. Afterward, he also further instructed and taught Lu Miaoga about the cultivation of the Saturn solar sword technique, as well as the accompanying techniques. Chapter 391. Encountering the girl you like, bring them all back _1 time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, another half-year had passed. Over this half-year, Lu Changxing's life remained as monotonous yet fulfilling as ever. Every day he practiced cultivation, crafted talismans, produced offspring, and then dual cultivated with Xianxia. In this year he had 9 more children, bringing the total to 138. And after such a long time of dual cultivation, Xianxia's Dao foundation was almost fully restored. Inside the cave abode, accompanied by a low roar and a soft moan, Lu Changxing and Xianxia ended their cultivation. The two quietly embraced each other, savoring the lingering feelings afterwards. Changxing, after 2 or 3 more times, the cracks and fissures in my Dao foundation should be able to heal, Xianxia said softly while snuggled against Lu Changxing's chest, her face blushing. These 2 or 3 times, naturally, didn't just refer to dual cultivation, but to the restoration of the Tao Foundation through the yin-yang energies. Let me take a look. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing took Xiaoxia's wrist and inspected her Tao Foundation with his divine sense. The cracks and fissures on the Tao pedestal were almost invisible now. It seems to be really fast. Xiu, didn't you say that my yin-yang energies not only repair the Tao Foundation but also resonate with your Tao Foundation, resulting in a transformation? Can you feel how much longer it will take to undergo this change? Lu Changxing, playing with the full and silky skin, piled up like snow, asked out loud. I feel that when my Tao Foundation is completely repaired, it will undergo some kind of change, Xiaoxia said. Oh, that's quite a fortunate turn of events. Congratulations to you, Xiu, Lu Changxing chuckled softly. Changxing, aren't you worried that it'll leave you once my Tao Foundation is fully restored? Xiaoxia, seeing the casual look on Lu Changxing's face, pouted slightly. I've said before I will respect all of your choices, Lu Changxing said with a sincere look in his eyes. Xiu doesn't believe it. You must be saying one thing and thinking another, convinced that I surely can't escape the palm of your hand, Xiaoxia snorted softly. Her mind was sharp and clear, and having been with Lu Changxing for so long, she had realized that he was not one to let go easily. Deep down, he was incredibly possessive and imperious. These words were just to comfort herself, not wanting to make herself feel upset. Of course, while I do respect you, how could my love for Xiu be something I can just let go of so easily? Lu Changxing said with a wry smile. As the two were having a tender conversation, a system notification sounded in Lu Changxing's mind. Chapter 392. Encountering the girl you like, bring them all back. Although he did not often come here, he still had his own meditation room and talisman room on the 3rd floor. System Draw Lottery. After arriving at the 3rd floor meditation room, Lu Changxing silently evoked in his heart. Immediately, the system's lottery wheel appeared. Start the draw. Then, a golden light began to rapidly spin on the lottery wheel. Moments later, the golden light slowly came to a stop on other. Ding. Congratulations to the host on obtaining the goo insect Hope Goo. The reward has been sent to the system space, and the host can check it at any time. A thumb-sized pattern resembling a light orb emerged from the big wheel along with the sound of a system prompt. Goo insect Hope Goo? Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow upon seeing this reward. Having the peach blossom goo before, he subconsciously felt good about goo insects. After all, among the more than 20 previous lottery items, the peach blossom goo could be considered a good reward. It not only improved one's appearance and temperament but also subtly enhanced one's peach blossom luck. It could also guard the sea of consciousness, fear no other goo insect effects and resist divine sense attacks. Just the name Hope Goo sounds strange. Lu Changxing muttered to himself, unable to guess the effect of the goo based on the name alone. Right away, his mental spirit stirred slightly as he looked toward the system space. Goo insect, Hope Goo, quality, celestial spiritual goo, description. A miraculous goo naturally born between heaven and earth that can endow mortals with enlightenment and give birth to the spiritual root. As long as there is hope, miracles can happen. Enabling mortals to gain enlightenment and produce spiritual roots. Lu Changxing's heart skipped a beat upon seeing the explanation for the Hope Goo. Long ago, he had perused books looking for information on how mortals could cultivate and beget spiritual roots. But there were no relevant records at all. He knew that it was virtually impossible for mortals to practice cultivation. And treasures that could bestow spiritual roots on mortals could only be encountered after reaching the nascent soul stage. Although he had thought that with the system he might obtain such treasures and enable mortals to practice cultivation and develop spiritual roots, Lu Changxing did not hold too much hope. After all, where there's hope there can also be disappointment. Of course, Lu Changxing could not deny that he did not have a strong obsession with this aspect. Hope Goo. A ray of hope, huh? Lu Changxing, looking at the Hope Goo in the system space, recalled taking Lu Pingan and others to test for spiritual roots. After finding no spiritual roots, the children returned home with downcast faces. Then Lu Pingan looked up with hopeful eyes and asked if one couldn't become a cultivator without a spiritual root. This Hope Goo, can it only enlighten one person or? Lu Changxing's mental spirit stirred slightly and he extracted the Hope Goo from the system. Suddenly the Hope Goo, the size of a thumb and resembling an orb of light, appeared in his hand. The details about the hope goo entered his mind. Just like the peach blossom goo, it could only be used once, enabling a person to gain enlightenment and produce a spiritual root. As for the quality of the engendered spiritual root, it would depend on the individual's circumstances, and be influenced by one's physical condition and the intensity of hope in their heart. Besides enlightenment and the production of spiritual roots, the hope goo had another effect. That is, in the face of desperate situations, as long as hope remained unextinguished in one's heart, the goo could forcibly trigger one's potential. Sigh. They'll give this hope goo to Pingon. Lu Changxing looked at the hope goo in his hand and let out a breath. He planned to give the hope goo to his eldest son Lu Pingon. This was his first son. He had been brought up from a young age, to whom he had devoted much affection. Moreover, this son had always been a source of pride and peace of mind. Now that Lu Pingon had broken through to the martial Dao innate and obtained a lottery draw, it seemed like a stroke of fate that he got the hope goo. However, the hope goo's ability to enlighten mortals and engender spiritual roots is too shocking to the world. If I use the hope goo to enlighten Pingon now, it might attract trouble. And there's the issue of inequality, not just scarcity. The hope goo is just one, only able to grant a spiritual root to one person. Other children who once thought spiritual roots were innate and had accepted reality, may now become upset and resentful upon seeing Pingon with a spiritual root. Therefore, the existence of the hope goo must absolutely be kept a secret. Lu Changxing took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. He knew many of his children had dreams of cultivation. Or rather, having been born on Jianghu mountain and raised in such an environment, it was impossible for them not to aspire to become cultivators. But since spiritual roots are innate and they didn't possess them, accepting reality was their only option. If they saw that he enabled Lu Pingon to develop a spiritual root, it would easily upset the balance. Even his wives, upon knowing that he possessed such an object and chose to give it to Lu Pingon, would feel uncomfortable, even if they did not voice it. Pingon has just broken through to the innate level and is preparing to travel abroad for trials. It's a good opportunity for him to temper himself. Later on, he'll see how things go and decide whether to give him the hope goo. As for the hope goo matter, there's no need to let anyone know. Chapter 393. Encountering the girl you like, bring them all back. Lu Changxing took out a jade box, stored the hope goo inside, and then placed it into the spiritual pet bag. Initially, when Lu Pingon said he wanted to go out for training experiences, he told him to break through to the innate level first. Now that he had broken through to innate, he naturally wouldn't say much more. But with his son leaving home as a father, there were naturally some things he needed to explain. After speaking with Lu Miaoga and Xianxia, Lu Changxing rode the Iron Feather Eagle back to Jianghu Mountain. After dealing with some minor matters and staying for half a month on Jianghu Mountain, Lu Changxing took Bai Ling with him to Rui Prefecture. By now, Bai Ling's cultivation level had reached the 3rd level of qi refinement. It was estimated that before long she would break through to the 4th level of qi refinement. This rate of progress was truly astonishing. Lu Changxing guessed that his earlier assumption of Bai Ling having a high-grade spiritual root was actually an underestimation. Given Bai Ling's speed of cultivation, she was likely to reach perfection in qi refinement and be ready for foundation establishment in her 20s. Linger, aren't you bored being at Jianghu Mountain every day? As the Iron Feather Eagle soared through the sky, Lu Changxing asked Bai Ling, not at all. Everyone here is so nice. Sister Yun, Sister Jinjin, Sister Jiwe, they all treat me so well. And Rui, Xiaoru, Qingshan and Xiaozhu often play with me too. Upon hearing this, Bai Ling immediately responded cheerfully. In her eyes, Jianghu Mountain was nothing short of a paradise on earth. Not only did they not dislike or shun her here, but they also liked her very much, took care of her and played with her. So, after spending a little over a year on Jianghu Mountain, Bai Ling's personality had become much more cheerful. She was no longer the same as before, socially anxious and tense when meeting people, her face timid and afraid. Of course, this cheerfulness was currently limited to being within Lu Changxing's estate. In front of the wives, maids and children of Lu Changxing. Once she stepped outside the estate, facing other people on Jianghu Mountain, she became quiet and reticent again. But it was already much better than before. That's good. If there's anything, you can talk directly to your sister Yun. If it's not convenient, you can also talk directly to your brother. Seeing Bai Ling's happy face, Lu Changxing couldn't help but smile gently. He rubbed the little girl's head, which was adorned with 2 buns. This had become a habit of his. And Bai Ling thoroughly enjoyed being affectionately rubbed on the head by him. 3 days later, the two arrived at Rui County City. Chapter 394. Encountering the girl you like, bring them all back under fur. I don't have any grand plans, just thinking of visiting Grandpa Li's place first. Instructor Zhao, Instructor Mu, and Uncle Li, Uncle Hong have all said that the Jianghu is dangerous. Before, Uncle Li mentioned that if I wanted to go out and travel, I could first go to the Crimson Whale Gang to see the perils of Jianghu and then decide whether or not I want to venture far. Lu Pingan spoke honestly. It's good that you have this idea. Going to the Crimson Whale Gang to gain some experience is also a good start. Hong Yi nodded in agreement upon hearing this. Because of their relationship with Hong Yi and Li Feiyu, the three families had much more interaction with each other. Under the care of Hong Yi, Li Feiyu's Crimson Whale Gang had been thriving, consistently handling Jianghu affairs for the Rui Marquis Mansion. It was not a bad idea for Lu Pingan to gain some experience at the Crimson Whale Gang, at least he would face some real situations. Otherwise, letting his son wander around aimlessly was something he, as a father, couldn't be at ease with. Dad, there's just Mom's side that he'll need you to talk to. Lu Pingan scratched his head, looking somewhat embarrassed as he spoke. What, she learned you wanted to travel and she objected, didn't she? Lan Shu burst into laughter upon hearing this. His wife Lu Lanshu had the demeanor of a well-brought-up lady and naturally disliked her son engaging in fights and killings. Especially since Lu Pingan was the eldest son, she always hoped that he would read more, learn to conduct himself in society, and manage family affairs. Initially, she had consented to allow the child to practice martial arts because Lan Shu had said all the children were training for the sake of strengthening their bodies and maintaining health. Otherwise, she would be reluctant to let Lu Pingan be engrossed in martial arts training. I mentioned it to Mom before. Not only did she refuse, but she also said that I'm not getting any younger and asked me what I think of Sister Schwer. But I've always seen Sister Schwer as if she were my own sister. Lu Pingan said, feeling helpless. The Sister Schwer he referred to was named Li Schwer, the daughter of Li Feiyu. She was 2 years younger than Lu Pingan, gentle and sensible, also favored by Lu Lanshu. Therefore, she also wished for this young girl to become her daughter-in-law. However, your mother is also right, you're indeed not young anymore. Lan Shu stroked his chin and said. In this world, being married at 16 was considered normal. Although Li Schwer was still a little young, Lan Shu had brought up the matter to set things in motion early on. Dad? Upon hearing this, Lu Pingan's face immediately fell. Alright, I'll talk to her about your mom's side in a bit,